After rebirth, I got myself a Yandere husband. My sister and I were reborn together. This time she let me have the gloomy Yandere tycoon husband, while she married into the recently bankrupt Gu family. Sis, now it's your turn to experience living with a creep. The man kept nuzzling against me in my arms, mumbling, honey, be sweet to me again. Hello, the guy's paying $3 million a month, so what if he's a bit Yandere? What's he done wrong? 1. The moment I opened my eyes, I heard my sister Jiangxing clamoring to marry into the Gu family. I knew then, she had been reborn too. My parents' expressions changed instantly. They've always favored my younger sister. I'm only a year older than Jiangxing, yet I always had to give way to her. The Gu family just went bankrupt. You'll only suffer if you go there. Let your sister go instead. She's older and more sensible than you. Seeing her parents' refusal, Jiangxing immediately threw a tantrum and even threatened to go on a hunger strike. In the end, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang couldn't bear to see her suffer and reluctantly agreed. Mother turned to me with a cold tone. You should be grateful to your sister someday. I nodded silently. Even though it was something she'd discarded, I was still expected to be grateful. As Jiangxing passed by me, she whispered, Sister, now it's your turn to experience what it's like living with a freak. I smiled in response. Did she really think life with the ruined Gu family would be any easier? Poverty is the root of all misfortune. 2. In her past life, Jiangxing chose the Qin family without hesitation when faced with the same choice. She fantasized about her future blissful life as a wealthy socialite. Sis, that mess of the Gu family, you're the one who'll have to clean it up. Little did she know, Qin Mu, the eldest son of the Qin family, was a brooding Yandere. On their wedding day, he threatened her to abandon any rebellious thoughts and obediently play the role of Mrs. Qin. She later discovered him self-harming in the study. When Jiangxing tried to escape after learning the truth, the bodyguards captured and confined her at home. She ultimately couldn't bear it anymore and eloped with another man. After Qin Mu found her, they divorced, and Jiangxing's reputation was ruined forever. Yet with my husband Gu Shuyan's support, I built my business from scratch and became a successful female entrepreneur. Gu Shuyan often said, modern women should create their own value rather than live dependent on men. As long as Yaya is willing, I'll always stand behind her with quiet support. These words earned Gu Shuyan the reputation as the model husband of the new era among their social circle. I became the envy of all the society ladies. But this golden period didn't last long. At a family dinner, Jiangxing lured me into her room, set it ablaze, and took us both down in flames. In her final moments, Jiangxing clawed at my legs with a grotesque snarl. Jiang Yu, I've always outshone you since childhood. How dare you end up happier than me? Even in death, I'll drag you down with me. The searing pain of the flame still sends shivers down my spine when I recall it. In this lifetime, watching Jiangxing's smug expression of certain victory, I could only shake my head helplessly. If it weren't for me, how could the Gu family have possibly made their comeback? 3. My wedding date was one day earlier than Jiangxing's. Jiangxing has been flaunting how well Gu Shuyan treats her in front of me these days. He showers her with constant attention and companionship. Meanwhile, Qin Mu hasn't visited me even once. Every time I hear this, I can't help but smile. With the Gu family bankrupt, what else can he offer you besides empty affection? When a man chooses to cherish you, you're the moon in his sky. The moment he changes his mind, you become dirt beneath his feet. The Qins actually deliver. Just look at the truckloads of betrothal gifts they've sent these days. After my persistent demands, my parents reluctantly included part of the bride price in my dowry. The marriage alliance with the Qin family was initiated by us to elevate the Jiang family's business. As for the Gu family, our betrothal was arranged since childhood, before the Gu family went bankrupt. We were considered well-matched in social status. With the Gu family now bankrupt, Mr. Jiang couldn't bear the thought of being called a social climber, so he gritted his teeth and honored the engagement. On our wedding day, I finally laid eyes on Qin Mu. His sharp nose supported gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an air of icy detachment. Nothing about him suggested someone capable of self-harm. When the officiant announced the groom could kiss the bride, I hadn't processed it yet and instinctively stepped back. Qin Mu's arm around my waist tightened, forcing me against his chest as his cold lips claimed mine. That night, he lounged on the couch with his tie loosely hanging, shirt half unbuttoned to reveal his sculpted torso. Only then did I catch the faintest whiff of Yandere madness in him. Suddenly, he gripped my chin and leaned down to stare into my eyes with a darkened gaze. This marriage was something your Jiang family begged for. Now that we're wed, you'd better abandon any improper thoughts. You'll receive 3 million monthly, just play the role of Mrs. Cheen in public, nothing more is required. I don't tolerate others coveting what's mine. If you disobey, I can't be held responsible for what might happen. Before Cheen Moo could finish speaking, I yanked his tie down and pressed my lips against his. My gaze had been lingering beneath his unbuttoned shirt this whole time. The way he bent over revealed every sculpted line of his abs in perfect detail. Seriously, who wouldn't get weak in the knees seeing this? After what felt like an eternity, I released him and noticed Cheen Moo's crimson-tipped ears. My hand instinctively found its way to his sculpted abs. Pressing my lips to his ear, I exhaled a scorching whisper. Hubby's got quite the physique. Now that we're done talking, shall we move to the next step? Cheen Moo shuddered, his voice turning husky. What are you doing? I arched an eyebrow. I'm exercising my wifely rights. Got a problem with that? Sensing my provocation, Cheen Moo let out a low chuckle. The next instant, the man removed his gold-rimmed glasses and crushed his lips against mine with domineering, scorching intensity. I felt myself melting completely, half asleep. I had to admit the physical disparity between men and women. I was completely exhausted. Yet he showed no sign of fatigue. When I woke the next afternoon, a jar of ointment sat by my bedside. Cheen Moo must have left it there. At least he's got some conscience. After showering, I headed downstairs for dinner when the butler handed me Cheen Moo's supplementary credit card. The young master said you may purchase anything you desire. I accepted it with barely concealed delight. What a luxury, getting paid without dawn-to-dusk negotiations or having to humor investors. 5. In my past life, I moved into a shabby rental right after marrying Gu Shuyan. They preached frugality to me while splurging recklessly themselves. Before long, they'd squandered every last bit of my dowry. Checking the time, Jiangxing should have already married into the Gu family by now. My parents had already told me I didn't need to attend the wedding. I wonder how she must feel facing this pack of wolves in sheep's clothing. Thinking about this, I realized I should try harder to stay in Cheen Moo's good graces as my benefactor. In the following days, I'd serve Cheen Moo his meals, carefully selecting dishes for him. Cheen Moo was tired, so I gave him a massage. When Cheen Moo wanted to bathe, I quickly went to draw the hot water. At first Cheen Moo wasn't quite comfortable with it. I can handle these things myself. That won't do. Didn't you tell me to be a proper Mrs. Cheen? When my husband works so hard, of course his wife should take good care of him. Truth be told, taking this much money without doing anything would weigh on my conscience. Cheen Moo remained silent with an indifferent expression, but I caught the subtle smirk he tried to hide. Sometimes I'd drop by his office to bring him lunch. It wasn't until my past life as a female entrepreneur that I understood why 9 out of 10 CEOs suffer from stomach problems. When they get busy, they genuinely don't have time to eat. In Cheen Moo's office, I saw a female secretary wearing a deep V-neck blouse. Her gaze at Cheen Moo was practically dripping with desire. During the meal, I casually remarked, "Your secretary is quite attractive, with a nice figure too." Cheen Moo instantly caught my drift. Without even glancing my way, he simply said, "Don't be unreasonable." I shot him a discreet glare, but when I visited again later, I noticed Cheen Moo had replaced her with a male assistant. Rumor has it that female secretary got transferred to assist another executive. Alright, turns out he's just at Sundara with an attitude. I really thought things between Cheen Moo and me were getting better, but then one day, he suddenly started avoiding me. 6. Every night he'd use work as an excuse to sleep in the study. We used to have breakfast together, but now I hardly ever see him. Even I'm not that clueless. I know he's avoiding me. I planned to wait for him at home today to get some answers. But then a friend texted inviting me for afternoon tea. When I arrived, Jiangxing was there too. Her usual dazzling jewelry was gone, and she was still carrying last year's handbag. Seems she's been bleeding money for the family, yet she kept that cheerful smile plastered on her face. Only when she noticed my head-to-toe limited edition pieces did her eyes flicker with something unreadable, gone as quickly as it came. When asked about having children, Jiangxing's smile froze. "My husband says there's no rush. He can't bear the thought of me becoming a mother so young, so we're putting it off for now." Everyone immediately praised Gu Shuyan as an exceptionally considerate husband. Judging by Jiangxing's reaction, she must have already noticed. Gu Shuyan wasn't worried at all. Soon enough, she'd be the one panicking. Jiangxing shot me a murderous glare when he noticed my poorly suppressed smile. His gaze dropped to the red marks on my hand, and a smug grin spread across his face. what happened to your hand, sis? They say Qin Mu has a terrible temper. Did he hit you? I glanced at the red marks on my wrist. Qin Mu was responsible, but not in the way they thought. He'd tied me up with his necktie instead. The man was an absolute animal. Even now, remembering that scene makes my cheeks burn. To everyone else, this scene made me look guilty, which only brightened Jiangxing's mood. Sis, a marriage without love is truly pitiful. 7. After the gathering, Gu Shuyan took a taxi to pick up Jiangxing. The onlookers couldn't help but feel envious again. I'd called for the family driver, but to my surprise, Qin Mu showed up instead. Before even stepping out of the store, I spotted him waiting in the car. Our eyes met, and I instinctively quickened my pace. Jiangxing suddenly stuck out his foot, tripping me. I nearly fell before a nearby waiter caught me. Thank you, I said to the other person. When I looked up, Qin Mu had already stepped out of the car, his gaze icy as it locked onto the waiter's hand touching my shoulder. Qin Mu strode over, quickly scanning me to confirm I wasn't hurt before wordlessly pulling me away. Perhaps Qin Mu's presence was too intimidating. Not a single person around dared to speak, all casting sympathetic looks my way. Jiangxingza parted her lips slowly. Reading her lips, I knew she was saying, sis, good luck. Once in the car, Qin Mu didn't lay a finger on me, just drove in silence without uttering a single word the entire way. His expression gradually softened, and the oppressive atmosphere around him lightened. Did this guy actually manage to cheer himself up? As soon as we got home, Qin Mu headed straight for the study. I couldn't help but ask, still not sleeping in the master bedroom tonight? Qin Mu turned around. The unspoken understanding between adults was crystal clear. Qin Mu stepped closer, suddenly gripping my waist and pulling me into his arms. A disturbingly captivating smile played on his lips. Not afraid of me? I arched a brow, pressing my lips to the man's Adam's apple. Afraid of you? Let's try something different this time. 8. Qin Mu's breath hitched, the restraint in his eyes vanishing completely. Jiang Yu, don't you dare ask me to stop later. His hand slowly trailed up my shoulder as his voice turned icy. Where did he touch you? Here, or here? Oh no. Payback's coming. Before I could react, Qin Mu sank his teeth into my shoulder. A soft moan escaped my lips. Qin Mu leaned down and silenced me with a kiss. The kiss felt magical, completely consuming me. I could only cling to him instinctively. In the dead of night, I felt gentle fingers caressing my cheek. Yeah, you started this. I won't hold back anymore. Don't even think about escaping me. In the following days, Qin Mu spent increasingly more time at home. He stopped going to his study at night, insisting on holding me as we slept. From Jiangxing's accounts in our past life, I knew Qin Mu kept self-harm tools in his study. Naturally, I also hoped he'd stay away from that study. Sometimes when deeply asleep, Qin Mu would unconsciously nuzzle into my arms, murmuring drowsily, "Darling, be sweet to me," a complete contrast to his cold, composed daytime demeanor. According to Butler Chen, Qin Mu used to need heavy doses of sleeping pills to fall asleep every night, but after being with me, he never touched it again. I was genuinely happy to be able to help him. While Qin Mu was at work, I kept myself busy at home, drawing from my past life's knowledge. I invested Qin Mu's money and my Jiang family dowry into several promising funds and stocks, making a substantial profit in no time. Now she's become a genuine little rich woman. Screw being some career woman, all I want in this life is to be loaded. This world imposes far too many definitions and expectations on women, whether career elites or homemakers. Women shouldn't be defined by any labels. I can become whoever I choose to be. 09. Later, when I went back to the Jiang residence to collect my belongings, I accidentally overheard Mom talking to Jiangxing on the phone. From their conversation, I realized Jiangxing was asking to borrow money. It was quite a substantial amount, more than Mom could possibly lend her. Jiangxing urged her to borrow money, explaining he needed startup capital for his business venture. If even her own mother wouldn't help her, she might as well die. In the end, her mother agreed. Hearing this, I lost interest and walked away. In my past life, Gu Shuyan also asked me to borrow money from home to start a business, but I refused. Temporary handouts can't buy lasting stability. To live well, the most important thing is standing on your own feet. So I started with a small shop. When I couldn't afford help, I did everything myself. Every single investment was secured through my forced smiles and liquor-soaked networking. And what was Gu Shuyan doing all that time? All he did was put on airs at home, a lazy glutton who smoked, drank, and gambled his days away. Jiangxing believed enough capital would buy her freedom and transform her into the enviable career woman everyone admired. Little do they know, true freedom never existed in this world. To break free from the cage, one must rely on genuine capability. 10. Who would have thought Jiangxing, besieged by internal and external crises, still found time to bother me? At some point, rumors started circulating that Qin Mu was a pervert. While I'd been enduring his domestic abuse all along, these marks on my body were all from his beatings. After some investigation, turns out it was my dear sister who spread the rumors, but these marks on me really aren't from being hit. Yet I can't go around explaining to everyone how I got these marks. That night, I sank my teeth viciously into Qin Mu's shoulder. Could you be gentler next time? You have no idea what people are saying about us. Qin Mu paused, laughing bitterly at himself. Maybe I really am a pervert. Then he crushed me against his chest. If I were a pervert, would you leave me? There was a barely detectable tremor of fear in Qin Mu's voice. I kissed him lightly and said, don't worry, these days. Who doesn't have some mental health struggles? I do too, so let's not judge each other. I could feel all the kindness Qin Mu had shown me during this time. He practically never said no to anything I asked. For someone who'd never known affection, I finally tasted what it felt like to be cared for. I'll admit it, my heart skipped a beat too. Qin Mu's shoulders relaxed with a relieved laugh at my words. The thing that had been weighing on him turned out to be just a common quirk in my telling. Because I care, I want to know more about Qin Mu. Qin Mu's body is covered with dense scars, including self-inflicted cuts on his wrists. I once cautiously asked him about the origin of those scars. Qin Mu didn't want to answer. If I pressed further, he'd silence me with a fierce kiss. Eventually I learned some details from Butler Chen. As the Qin family's longtime steward, Butler Chen knew all their best-kept secrets. He revealed that Qin Mu had been kidnapped by traffickers at age 10. Mr. and Mrs. Qin searched desperately, but couldn't find any trace of him. Eventually they gave up and adopted another boy from the orphanage, naming him Qin Xiao, yet no one expected Qin Mu to suddenly return on his own 3 years later. 11. He was covered in blood and dirt, with hollow eyes and disheveled hair. The servant mistook him for a beggar and even hit him with a broom a few times. In the end, it was Butler Chen who recognized Qin Mu and carried him to the hospital. At that time, Qin's parents were happily attending Qin Zhao's parent-teacher conference. Upon learning of Qin Mu's return, they didn't immediately show concern for their son, but instead rushed to comfort Qin Xiao, tell him that even if his brother returns, it won't change his place in their hearts. In their eyes, Qin Xiao remains their most outstanding son. These words were heard clearly by Qin Mu inside the hospital room. After returning, Qin Mu was no longer the cheerful soul he once was, becoming withdrawn and reclusive instead. No one knew what he had been through those 3 years. When Qin's parents found out, instead of offering psychological support, they accused their son of changing, growing distant, and not being as charming as Qin Xiao. Eventually, they devoted themselves entirely to Qin Xiao. During school days, Qin Xiao would rally classmates to mock Qin Mu together. They bullied him because he stayed silent, making people mistake Qin Mu for the adopted son while he was the true heir of the Qin family. Finally, Qin Mu couldn't take it anymore and beat up all his tormentors. He even smashed Qin Zhao's head open. Without even hearing his side of the story, Qin's mother slapped him right in front of everyone. From that moment on, everyone assumed Qin Mu was at fault, and no one at school dared to befriend him, though to be fair, nobody dared to bully him either. At this point in the story, Butler Chen's eyes grew moist with emotion. I've watched the young master grow up, and no one truly understands the pain he carries. That's why when he decided to leave the Qin family, I followed without hesitation. I simply couldn't bear the thought of him having no one who genuinely cared by his side. I gave Butler Chen a reassuring pat on the back, promising him I'd take good care of Qin Mu from now on. As for parents like that, there's nothing worth holding on to. It's best we never cross paths again. Little did I expect that Qin's mother would call just a few days later. 12. While Qin Mu and I were having dinner, his mother called and invited us over for dinner the next evening. Qin Mu initially refused, but they insisted there was something important to discuss. In the end, we decided to go. The moment we stepped in, we saw 3 people chatting and laughing on the sofa. Mr. and Mrs. Qin's smiles faded slightly when they noticed us. Qin Xiao, however, remained unfazed and greeted me warmly, complimenting how I looked even more beautiful than on our wedding day. I responded with a faint smile and a nod. After several conversations, I finally grasped the depth of Qin Zhao's cunning. His words dripped with honeyed flattery, but his eyes betrayed cold calculation and deceit. It was obvious he wanted to recruit me to join his faction against Qin Mu. He'd occasionally flash the scar on his forehead for effect. Their words kept implying that Qin Mu was some violent maniac who might hit me someday too. Turns out when guys play the manipulative victim card, women can't even compete. I countered with a smile. Oh please, my husband only beats up trash. The room fell dead silent at that. Qin Zhao's smile faltered as he awkwardly walked away, avoiding further conversation with me. While discussing company matters, Qin's father abruptly shifted topics. Your younger brother has graduated this year. Prepare to hand over your position to him. From now on, focus on supporting him. The Qin Group was merely an average enterprise a few years ago. It reached its current standing solely through Qin Mu's relentless efforts. Qin Mu scoffed coldly in response. On what grounds? Qin's father slammed the table. Because you're my son, and this company was built by me. I decide who inherits it, then try it, see whether the current board answers to you or me. Qin's mother stormed over and slapped Qin Mu. How did I raise such a son? Is this how you speak to your parents? If I'd known this would happen, you might as well have died at the trafficker's hands. Better than coming back like this. Qin Mu turned his head aside, lips sealed tight with clenched fists. In the end, we left without eating as he dragged me away. The car ride was silent. Qin Mu didn't speak, and I was searching for words to comfort him. He suddenly slammed the brakes, pulling over to the roadside. I'm going to grab some things, wait for me in the car. Without waiting for my reply, Qin Mu stepped out of the car and left. After what felt like ages with no sign of Qin Mu returning, I grew worried something might have happened and decided to go look for him. I searched for a long time but couldn't find Qin Mu anywhere, starting to feel scared. I considered retracing my steps back to the car, suddenly got stopped by a group of thugs. Where'd this chick come from, out so late? Wanna have some fun with us? 13, I forced composure, replying coldly, none of your business. The leader sneered and reached for my shoulder. Stop playing hard to get, don't worry, we'll treat you right. I dodged sideways, took a few steps back, and warned, get lost now or I'm calling the cops. They weren't intimidated, as I kept retreating. They kept advancing, my back hit the wall, nowhere left to retreat. They kept closing in, gripping the pepper spray in my bag. I braced to strike if they came any closer. Before the group could reach me, their leader was yanked backward by his hair and smashed headfirst into the wall. A sickening crack echoed as blood gushed from his skull, the man howling while clutching his head. My vision cleared. It was Qin Mu, just as I'd suspected. His eyes burned crimson with fury, pummeling the remaining men into the ground before they could react. Their fists were stained crimson before the thugs finally scrambled away in panic. Qin Mu watched me standing frozen and sneered. Scared, he pulled me into his embrace. Even if you are, I won't let you go. You're mine for life. Collecting myself, I returned his hug. Not scared, but since you hit them, you can't hit me. Qin Mu paused mid-motion, burying his face in the crook of my neck before suddenly chuckling lowly. Silly you. My stomach chose that exact moment to growl loudly. Can't help it. I hadn't had dinner yet. Qin Mu was in much better spirits than before, holding my hand as he took me out for some delicious food. Later, I noticed fresh scars lining Qin Mu's hands and realized he'd been slipping away to self-harm in secret. Qin Mu didn't want me to see him at his lowest. He no longer wants to die, but still struggles with the urge to hurt himself. He couldn't help himself. So he carried a small knife hidden on his person. Qin Mu's therapist told him this stemmed from profound self-loathing. I took the knife from him and said we'd face his episodes together. No more hiding. Qin Mu agreed. Qin Mu's parents called several more times trying to get us to visit, but we turned them down every time. Just days later, my own parents showed up uninvited with Jiangxing in tow. 14. They claimed they'd heard about the domestic violence and came to check on me. I scoffed inwardly. If they truly cared, wouldn't they have come the moment they first heard about it? Just as expected, they quickly revealed their true purpose for coming to see me. Jiangxing wanted to borrow money from me. Doing the math, Jiangxing's savings must have been nearly drained by the Gu family by now, with her entire family leeching off her. The fact that she came to me shows how truly desperate Jiangxing has become, but of course, she would never tell me these things. She just claimed her business was expanding and needed capital, hence coming to borrow from me. Naturally, I refused. Jiangxing's expression darkened. You've got so much money you can't even spend it. Your husband won't even let you out. Might as well give it to me. I'm going to be a powerhouse woman someday. Don't say I didn't warn you. When your husband loses his mind, your parents' home will be your only refuge. Are you sure you want to burn bridges now? I smiled faintly. Burn bridges? You still have dignity to lose. I thought you'd abandoned shame long ago. Jiangxing pointed at me angrily, speechless for a long moment. Dad's face darkened. Yeah. Are you really disobeying your parents now? Sorry, but I stopped caring long ago. When Dad raised his hand to hit me, the bodyguard intercepted him. I immediately had security escort all three of them out. Jiangxing tried cursing at me by the doorway, but our embarrassed parents dragged her back inside. This is the first time since birth that I've defied my parents' wishes, because I've learned that endless compromise earns no respect, only escalating demands. Qin Mu wrapped his arms around me from behind. He'd been upstairs the whole time, hearing every word clearly. They pissed you off. Want me to take care of them for you? I shook my head. Karma will catch up with them. 15. Later, Mom called again and tore into me. She threatened to cut ties unless I helped Jiangxing. Couldn't ask for more. I hung up and blocked her right away. Later, I ran into Jiangxing again at a dinner party. She was glowing with health, and her smile widened when she saw me. Sis, did you really think I couldn't make it without your help? My husband secured Mr. Zhao's investment this time. The Gu family will be back on its feet soon. I didn't respond, just turned to Gu Shuyan. You're the one who contacted Mr. Zhao. Gu Shuyan's face betrayed barely contained triumph. Though he struggled to maintain a facade of modesty, I'd do anything to help Xingxing. I scoffed derisively. When people pretend for too long, they start believing their own act. Gu Shuyan pulled Jiangxing away, saying, Chairman Zhao's over there, let's go thank him. Before leaving, Jiangxing shot me a challenging look and muttered, anything you can do, I can do too. In my past life, I also secured investment from CEO Zhao, but back then, I already knew exactly what kind of person Gu Shuyan was. He simply didn't have what it took to land such a major investment, so I kept my guard up. Sure enough, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Sometimes the price is more than we can bear. Qin Mu came over and took my hand, his eyes filled with concern. What's wrong? I shook my head with a smile. It's nothing. These were all Jiangxing's own choices. Now I just need to focus on my own path. 16. The banquet ran late into the night, and nearly all the guests opted to stay overnight at the hotel. Qin Mu and I were no exception. The next morning, I got up and headed downstairs for breakfast. Outside another room, I overheard Jiangxing's furious voice. Gu Shuyan, you bastard. You set me up to entertain Chairman Zhao just to secure that investment. You're useless yourself, yet you'd hand your wife over to another man. You're worse than an animal. With that, Jiangxing slapped Gu Shuyan hard across the face. Gu Shuyan didn't hold back either, returning the slap and shoving Jiangxing to the ground. Why else do you think they'd invest? If you hadn't failed to secure the loan, do you think I'd resort to this? I'd advise you to keep quiet. They're holding compromising photos of you. If those get leaked, even I can't help you. With that, Gu Shuyan left the room, leaving Jiangxing sitting on the floor in utter despair. Spotting me, Jiangxing lunged at me with venom in his eyes, grabbing for my collar. Why, you knew all along. Why didn't you warn me? Dodging her attack, I said flatly, you made this choice yourself, didn't you? Jiangxing fell to the ground again and suddenly laughed. So in your past life, you went through the same thing as me. You're just as tainted. We're both filthy. Who's any better than whom? We're both filthy, Jiangxing kept repeating herself, as if dragging me down to her level would ease her conscience, but my next words shattered her completely. I didn't. Jiangxing's eyes widened. Impossible. There's no way a woman could have escaped that situation yesterday, because I'm more ruthless than them. 17. Jiangxing laughed incredulously. Impossible. How could a woman be more ruthless than a man? I didn't answer, walking past Jiangxing as I left. In my past life, Gu Shuyan got me drunk and took me to Zhao Chong's room. Little did they know, my alcohol tolerance had been honed through countless drinking sessions. I wasn't that easy to get drunk. Besides, I'd already been wary of them. The moment I entered the room, I activated my phone's voice recorder. When Zhao Chong tried to force himself on me, I fought back desperately. Gu Shuyan stood right by the doorway, yet chose to do nothing. Zhao Chong thought he had me cornered, so he dropped all pretense and started spewing vile insults. In the end, I grabbed a bottle from the table and smashed it over his head, pressing the jagged edge against his throat. One wrong move and he'd be dead. Zhao Chong threatened, kill me, and you'll throw your life away too, then we'll die together. My demeanor must have been truly terrifying, because Zhao Cheng ultimately lacked the nerve to die with me and had no choice but to let me go. As for why I let Gu Shuyan lead me into that unfamiliar room despite my suspicions, I desperately needed that investment, which meant I had to uncover Zhao Cheng's weakness. Back then, I was truly backed into a corner. This was my last resort, a desperate gamble where survival meant staking everything. Thankfully my gamble paid off. Zhao Cheng ended up investing in our company because of the recording. The company is gradually getting back on track. Jiangxing still lacked courage. She didn't even have the guts to leave. She couldn't bear to abandon the investment she'd sacrificed everything to obtain, so she kept getting blackmailed and manipulated, time and again. But nothing stays hidden forever. Jiangxing's reputation was ruined in no time. Everyone started whispering about her affair with Zhao Cheng behind her back. Jiangxing's parents were utterly disappointed in her, believing her actions had humiliated them in front of their friends. People always chase after benefits. They gradually distanced themselves from Jiangxing and started cozying up to me instead. Meanwhile, my relationship with Qin Mu grew increasingly stable. He even publicly decided to transfer half of all his company shares to me. He heads straight home the moment work ends, turns down every drinking invitation and social engagement, doesn't have a single woman around him. Ice cold to everyone else, yet his eyes soften only for me. Once again, I became the envy of everyone. Everyone kept asking for my secret to keeping a devoted husband, wondering what magic I'd worked to make him so loyal. 18. A month later, Qin Mu and I attended an industry summit where we ran into Jiangxing and Gu Shuyan. Jiangxing had long shed his former arrogance. Her haggard face bore dark circles that no foundation could conceal. People around were snickering at her behind her back, yet she carried on conversations with unshakable composure. But when our eyes met, she looked straight through me like I was a stranger. I certainly wouldn't initiate a greeting either. Never imagined she'd actually slip drugs into the water the server gave me. Even had someone lead Qin Mu away. When I was disoriented, she took me to a room on the second floor. Jiang Yu, don't blame me. Why should you reap all the rewards in both lifetimes while I suffer all the hardships? Zhao Cheng promised to let me go if I helped him get you. Just stay still and don't resist. It'll all be over after you sleep. Jiangxing laid me on the bed and fled in panic. I forced my eyes open to see a pudgy, thick-necked figure looming by the bedside. Zhao Cheng advanced toward me step by step. I frantically groped for the dagger in my bag, the same one Qin Mu had carried for self-harm. Just as Zhao Cheng was about to grab me, I mustered my last ounce of clarity and drove the blade through his palm. Clutching his arm, Zhao Cheng held. Where the hell did a woman like you get a knife? I collapsed to the ground, dragging the blade across my arm. The sharp pain brought me a fleeting moment of clarity. I stumbled out of the room in a daze. Someone pulled me into an embrace, but I kept struggling weakly. Then a familiar voice whispered, yeah, it's me. I looked up to see the worry on Qin Mu's face before finally passing out in relief. 19. When I came to, I found myself in the hospital. Qin Mu was asleep by the bed, clutching my hand tightly. The moment I stirred, he woke and rushed to call the nurse. He gave me the medicine as the nurse had instructed, then he held me tight, refusing to let go for the longest time. I patted his head reassuringly. Don't worry, I'm fine now, aren't I? Qin Mu's voice turned grim. Just thinking about that man trying to touch you makes me want to chop his hands off. So you're saying no man can ever touch me again? Absolutely not. Yeah, belongs to me alone. Qin Mu held me even tighter as he spoke. But you shook hands with other women at the summit. Should I be mad about that too? It was just a joke. But to my surprise, Qin Mu nodded in agreement. Makes sense. Then yeah, go ahead and chop my hand off as punishment. With that, he actually placed the knife in my hand. Seeing me hesitate, Qin Mu pouted like a wronged child. You won't do it. Is it because you don't like me? That's why you're not even angry when I touch other girls? I sighed helplessly. You lunatic. 20. The next day, I learned from the bodyguards that after Qin Mu realized I was missing, he went berserk searching for me, nearly derailing the entire summit. When they finally found me in a second-floor room, Jiangxing tried to intervene, only to be sent flying by a single kick from Qin Mu. Qin Mu took me to the hospital while ordering his bodyguards to give those 3 men a brutal beating. Had the summit organizers not intervened, things could have spiraled out of control. Jiangxing and I were in the same hospital. After recovering, I went to see her once. Jiangxing lay bedridden. You must be feeling smug seeing me like this, aren't you? I sat on the couch across from her. You brought this all upon yourself. Jiangxing laughed, her laughter growing increasingly shrill. I just don't understand. We came from the same background, the same parents. Why does everything you choose succeed while all my choices fail? I can't accept it. Why does fate always favor you? Fate doesn't favor me. You were wrong from the very beginning. What matters isn't the choice itself, but the person making it. Jiangxing sneered. You're just implying I'm not as brave as you, aren't you? I shook my head gently. No. Your biggest mistake is always expecting others to get what you want, never considering earning it through your own efforts. But every gift from God comes with a price tag already attached. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Greed always backfires. I was never the one who did this to you. Jiangxing stared at me with wide eyes. I stood up and walked away without looking back. Behind me, Jiangxing's voice turned almost hysterical. You're lying. I didn't lose. You're lying. 21. After I was discharged from the hospital, Qin Mu became even more clingy, blaming himself entirely for my accident and practically wanting to keep me by his side every second. Dad mentioned that Gu Shuyan divorced Jiangxing right after she left the hospital. Lately, he seems to be courting the daughter of some nouveau riche family. Jiangxing keeps muttering to herself daily, insisting she did nothing wrong and never lost. Her parents had no choice but to commit her to a psychiatric hospital. Qin Mu wasn't about to let Zhao Cheng off the hook that easily. In less than a month, he drove Zhao Cheng's company into bankruptcy. Buried under crushing debt, Zhao Cheng was reduced to living like a fugitive. He was eventually arrested by the police for robbery and manslaughter. Later, I saw Jiangxing in the news. Somehow she escaped from the psychiatric hospital and stabbed Gu Shuyan with a knife during his wedding ceremony. Gu Shuyan died on the spot when Jiangxing was arrested. He kept muttering, "This is all your fault, due to mental health issues." Jiangxing wasn't sentenced, but he'll likely spend the rest of his life in a psychiatric hospital. 22. When Mom found out, she called me from a new number in tears, saying she'd have to rely on me for the rest of her life. I gave some half-hearted responses before hanging up. They raised me, so of course I'll repay them. But if they're expecting my affection and care, they'll be sorely disappointed. Because those are things I never received growing up. My parents' expressions darkened. When Qin Mu found out, he was so overjoyed he could hardly contain himself, unsure if he should even touch me. In the end, I was the one who embraced him first. Only then did Qin Mu happily sweep me up in his arms and spin me around. After 9 months of pregnancy, we welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world. Qin's parents wanted to visit the child, but we turned them down. Qin Mu gazed at the child with tender eyes. Yeah, I'll do my best to be a good father. I smiled and said, we both will. Even though we never received much parental love ourselves, our child will be the happiest one. Story 2. Ningxu's beloved died because of me, and he hated me for it for 10 years. Even when I succumbed to illness, he never forgave me. Reborn on that fateful day, I resolved to let them be together by dying in his beloved's stead. Fortunately, I survived the attempt and seized the chance to fake my death. I started a new life, leaving Ningxu completely behind me. 2 years later, Ningxu accidentally came across my photo and realized I was still alive. They say he lost his mind on the spot. 1. After 10 years of marriage, Ningxu finally found a substitute for his unattainable love. She was a college girl. Her mere resemblance to Shen Lanshan drove Ningxu wild with devotion, spoiling her rotten, coming from poverty. Ningxu sponsored her education. When she needed an internship, Ningxu made her his personal assistant. They became inseparable. Ningxu once promised we'd take a seaside stroll on my 35th birthday. It's been over a decade since we last visited the shore together. Ever since Shen Lanshan was lost to the sea, on the birthday, I applied lipstick to mask my sickly pale lips, then draped my emaciated frame in elegant clothes. I waited by the shore all day, not a single call from Ningxu. Only when night fell did his secretary relay that urgent business kept him away. Relying on memory, I found that college girl's Weibo post. She posted a photo with a hand barely visible in the corner, that was unmistakably Ningxu. The moment he heard I had period cramps, he dropped everything and rushed over, even made me kanji himself. Older men really know how to pamper you. Adorable. The tumor in my brain is pressing on the nerves, the pain so severe I can't straighten my back. Liberation is near. I smiled soundlessly at the sea. Shen Lanshan, I'll soon repay you with my life. 2. Ningxu didn't come home until the early hours. He glanced at me on the couch and said flatly, still up, Ningxu, we need to talk. I know what you're going to say. He leisurely loosened his tie. Even at 35, Ningxu maintained a well-toned physique, his every movement exuding the poise of a mature man. No wonder he could attract 20-year-old college girls. I was indeed with my assistant tonight. She wasn't feeling well and had no one around. I thought it'd be tough for a young woman alone, so I went to check on her. We'll go to the beach another day. Not about that. He seemed surprised. Then what is it? I was trying to figure out how to bring it up. Ningxu took another guess. The birthday gift. I had my assistant deliver it to you. That's not it either. Ningxu's patience ran out. He Yuning, I'm exhausted today. If you've got something to say, spit it out instead of wasting time with riddles. I have terminal brain cancer. I slid the diagnosis report across to him. I'd rehearsed 100 ways to start this conversation, but none of them mattered in the end. Ningxu kept flipping through the report in disbelief. The room was eerily silent. Is this real? A top-tier hospital falsifying reports. For the first time, Ningxu showed me a flicker of emotion beyond impatience, but it was gone in an instant. He quickly composed himself, setting the report aside. It's getting late, you should rest. Is that all you have to say? When disappointment piles up, it turns into collapse. Ningxu, I'm dying. This might be my last birthday alive. He stopped in his tracks, letting me pelt him with pillows and cups, neither resisting nor dodging. Only when I'd calmed down did he wipe the water from his face, revealing a cruel smile. He Yuning, tell me, isn't this karma? I froze on the spot. Then came the second half of his sentence. This is your karma for indirectly causing Shen Lanshan's death. 3. Ningxu threw those words at me before retreating to his bedroom. The door slammed shut, cutting off my last glimmer of hope, but I knew Ningxu was right. Shen Lanshan's death was connected to me. Before turning 22, the three of us, Ningxu, Shen Lanshan, and I, were inseparable, the very definition of an ironclad trio. If I had to say, I was always the odd one out. Both the Shen and Ming families were extremely wealthy. They received elite education since childhood and shared many common interests. Only because Shen Lanshan considered me her best friend did I have a place in their circle. Later, just like every cliché love triangle story would go, I fell for Ningxu, but his eyes only ever followed Shen Lanshan. My secret crush meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. For Miss Shen's 22nd birthday, I suggested celebrating at sea. Coincidentally, she owned a private yacht that had never been used. Shen Lanshan found the proposal quite appealing, so she cancelled the upscale club reservation last minute and moved the birthday celebration to a maritime venue. The festivities stretched across several days. At first, everything went smoothly, but on the third day, disaster struck. The yacht suddenly malfunctioned, causing seawater to flood in, and is expected to sink within 20 minutes. There are 17 people on board with only 2 lifeboats, which have a maximum capacity of 16. One person will inevitably have to stay behind and await rescue. To ensure fairness, Shen Lanshan proposed drawing lots to decide who would remain. Unfortunately, I drew the short straw. After everyone boarded the lifeboat, Shen Lanshan suddenly snatched the lot from my hand. Ningning, you go first. No, I'm the one who drew the lot, you dummy. Shen Lanshan flashed me a smile. No wonder she was the campus belle. That radiant grin. I can swim, you can't. You go first. I'll last longer than you. No, if you're staying, I'm staying too. Don't make this harder for me. Who knows? I might reach shore right after you. Without another word, Shen Lanshan pushed me onto the lifeboat. She turned to Ningxu and said, "Take good care of her." Those were Shen Lanshan's final words to us. 4. No sooner had our lifeboat departed than the storm hit. The extreme weather delayed the rescue team, and by the time they arrived, the private yacht had completely sunk. Shen Lanshan couldn't be saved. Rescuers found her body in the wreckage of the sunken ship. Ningxu had planned to confess his feelings to Shen Lanshan after returning to shore. He'd even prepared gifts and flowers, but his beloved white moonlight remains forever in the sea. From that moment on, Ningxu began to despise me. If only I hadn't persuaded Shen Lanshan to set sail, she wouldn't have died. If not, it would have been me who perished. Later, Ningxu read my diary and discovered my secret crush on him. He sneered mockingly, "You like me, as if you're worthy." Yet despite his words, a week later Ningxu suddenly proposed with a diamond ring in an outrageously grand gesture. The photos went viral online, everyone saying they've never seen a diamond this enormous, and how adorable the prince and Cinderella's childhood sweetheart romance is. But little do they know, in reality, the prince's gaze never lingered on Cinderella. Ningxu married me solely because of Shen Lanshan's dying wish. He truly took good care of me, except, he never loved me, Ningxu never once strayed. As if to put Shenlanshan's departed soul at ease, he struggled to maintain our marriage for a full decade, until this replacement appeared, rekindling the dying embers in Ningxu's heart. My condition grew progressively worse. Ningxu never once visited me in the hospital. He was too busy with his career, busy entertaining his young assistant. The hospital room TV was broadcasting a charity gala live. There was Ningxu in formal attire, with that assistant Xiaoqiu trailing behind him. With her delicate makeup, Xiaoqiu looked even more like Shenlanshan. My gaze froze when I spotted the necklace around her neck. That was Shenlanshan's necklace, that year when I was 20, all because I'd casually remarked, "This necklace is beautiful." Shenlanshan simply took it off and gave it to me. Only later did I learn her brother had bought it at auction for millions. Shenlanshan said, "What's a few million? Ningning is my best friend, she's worth it, after her death." I sealed the necklace in a jewelry box, unable to bear opening it. What gives Ningxu the right to force this on someone else? With my last ounce of strength, I made the call. "What is it?" came the icy voice. "I'm busy today, call back later." No one can replace her. I cut Ningxu off harshly. No matter what he was busy with, I mustered all my strength and spoke each word deliberately. "No one can replace Shenlanshan, Ningxu. You're insulting her." Ningxu stood frozen for a long moment. I was utterly exhausted. After hanging up, I closed my eyes for the last time. The day I died, a storm raged outside, so similar to the day Shenlanshan met her fate. 5. Ningning, do you have feelings for Ashu? The familiar sweet voice snapped me back to awareness. I was reborn. 22-year-old Shenlanshan sat before me with a radiant smile. "Don't even try to deny it. What are we to each other? You can't hide it from me." Seeing me frozen in place, she added, "Got it right, don't worry. I'll make sure you two have some alone time tonight. Make it count." Overcome with emotion, I rushed forward and pulled Shenlanshan into a tight embrace. The familiar scent of jasmine clung to her. "It's really her, in the flesh." "Ningning, what's wrong? Who's bullying you? Tell me, I'll teach them a lesson." "No, the words trailed off unfinished. The alarm suddenly blared. "Yacht malfunction. All personnel report to the deck immediately, now." "Oh no, this can't be happening. I just got reincarnated." 6. Everyone gathered uneasily at the bow. The yacht was tilting, its stern beginning to sink. To make matters worse, the weather was turning foul. Just like in their past lives, they drew lots to decide who would wait for rescue. I took a deep breath and snatched the short straw first. "It's me, the rest of you don't need to draw." Everyone except Shenlanshan sighed in relief and scrambled onto the lifeboat. Just then, I noticed something odd about Ningxu. In his past life, he was the commander, organizing everyone's orderly boarding of the lifeboat, but now, he stood there dazed, eyes vacant, only squeezing onto the lifeboat when shoved by others, as if his soul had left him. Whatever, who cares about him? I clenched the short slip in my palm and counted down 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Shenlanshan lunged at me to snatch my slip. Just as I expected, my prediction was spot on. I dodged her effortlessly. "What are you doing?" I feigned surprise. She said, "Ningning, let's switch. You go first this time. I'll stay and wait for help. I'm a strong swimmer. I can handle this better than you." I shook my head. "No, the draw decided it. This is my fate. Don't be ridiculous. Remember, I'm a certified swim instructor. You go ahead. I might even reach shore by the time you do." "Thank you." Shanshan, in my past life, I never got the chance to say thanks. I'm glad I could make up for it now. What's with the sudden gratitude? Are we best friends? Of course. Then live well, I beg you. Shenlanshan looked utterly bewildered. It was Ningxu behind her whose pupils abruptly constricted the moment I finished speaking. He suddenly came alive, his gaze locking onto me without blinking. The next instant, I shoved Shenlanshan onto the lifeboat. This time, let me be the one to die. Weightless, I sank toward the stern. Then I heard Ningxu's heart-wrenching scream over the ocean. Ningning, how strange. Did he ever call me that in our past life? I turned and met his despairing, shattered gaze. Those weren't the eyes of 22-year-old Ningxu, they belonged to his 35-year-old self. Ningxu had been reborn too. I closed my eyes with quiet resignation. What good is rebirth now? The ending was already written. Ningxu, I owe you nothing more. My body sank deeper into the sea. Sinking further still, in the abyssal darkness, a sudden beam of light illuminated my world. 7. Time flashed by in an instant. 2 years have passed since my rebirth. walking across the UK campus while texting with my head down, Shinlanshan, ding dong, your baby arrives in London tomorrow/cool, JPG, me, ready to welcome your majesty anytime/cool, JPG, Shinlanshan, bringing you spicy strips, me, my lady, you're my goddess, a foreign classmate nearby asked, what's got you so cheerful? I couldn't help but smile. After escaping death itself, how could I not be happy? No one would have guessed I'm still alive. That shipwreck 2 years ago, as my yacht was sinking beneath the waves, a small lifeboat suddenly appeared. It cut through the mist and waves, speeding toward me. What happened next is beyond my knowledge. When I came to, I found myself in a foreign hospital. A familiar face was by my side, strikingly handsome yet with an air of cool detachment in his features. Awake. The doctor says you're out of danger. My mind lagged for a moment before finally placing who this person was. Shindu, that stern, rigid older brother who'd nevertheless spend millions on a necklace for Shinlanshan. Was it you who saved me? Shindu gave a brief explanation. That day when the accident happened, he immediately dispatched a rescue boat after detecting changing weather conditions at sea, just as a precaution. Never thought it would actually save me. I'm grateful. Yet somewhat confused, did this happen in my previous life? Before I could figure it out, Shindu stood up to leave. By the way, I haven't told anyone about saving you yet, not even Shanshan. He paused briefly and looked at me. I suppose you might have your own plans. 8. According to Shindu, everyone thought I was dead. Shinlanshan even locked herself at home, refusing to eat or drink, drowning in tears. Ningshu sent divers to retrieve my body. He spared no expense, refusing to give up until they found the corpse, yet all they recovered was my bracelet, a birthday gift Ningshu gave me during our sophomore year. I've never taken it off since the day I got it. Ningshu knelt on the salvage boat, sobbing with the bracelet clutched in his hands. On my discharge day, I resolved to tell Shinlanshan that I was alive. Upon hearing the news, Shinlanshan flew to England and held me tight. Weeping uncontrollably, we made a pact she'd keep my secret. Acting as if Yuning had truly died, Shinlanshan was tight-lipped. 2 years passed, and only my family and the Shin siblings knew of my existence. This narrow escape, I realized, marked my true rebirth. I changed my name and cut off my waist-length hair. Ningshu once said he liked girls with straight black hair, so I never changed my hairstyle again. In this new life, I'll live for myself, as a STEM girl. The UK has my dream university, Imperial College London, ranked 10th globally. I stayed here, working and studying. Shindu wanted to help me. He said, don't overwork yourself, I'll provide you with housing. Just focus on your master's applications. I shook my head. Thank you, but I want to make it on my own. You've already helped me too much. He let out a soft sigh. Back and forth, Shindu and I developed a bit of camaraderie. Once I asked, why are you willing to help me for free? Because you're Shanshan's best friend. The reply was absolutely impeccable. In the end, I successfully got admitted to Imperial College London for graduate studies and returned to campus life. After graduating, Shinlanshan landed a cushy job at her family's company. She'd frequently jet off to London to visit me. This privileged girl could have easily booked penthouse suites at 5-star hotels, yet she insisted on squeezing into my tiny dorm room every single time. We'd chat, binge shows, and share gossip together, just like old times. To my surprise, she and Ningshu never ended up together. Instead, they drifted further apart. At this, Shinlanshan declared firmly, I don't know what issues you have with Ningshu, but I live by one rule: whoever my best friend hates becomes my sworn enemy. My best friend is never wrong, and even if she is, she's still right. Her words made me laugh. Then Shinlanshan added, but hey, Yueshin, I think you got it all wrong. Ningshu doesn't like me at all. He's into you. No way. But he's become so obsessed because of you. Shinlanshan muttered under her breath, ever since your accident, he keeps saying things I don't understand, like I was wrong. Please come back, I'll never see that assistant again and such. Another time, I caught him kneeling before your portrait, murmuring to himself and weeping bitterly, honoring my wishes, my family, and Shinlanshan held a funeral for me. I gave an awkward smile and changed the subject. How long are you planning to stay this time? Just long enough to celebrate your birthday. I'll leave in 2 weeks. We huddled under the covers, chatting about variety shows and celebrity crushes. Neither of us remembered who dozed off first. The next morning, I was jolted awake by Shinlanshan's scream, Ning Ning, I'm so sorry, Ningning has always been my nickname, it just rolls off the tongue, so I never asked anyone to change how they address me. What's wrong? I asked. Ningshu. Ningshu saw our photo together. 9. Yesterday, Shanlanshan posted food photos in our class group chat. She accidentally uploaded a picture of us together instead. She quickly retracted it after realizing, thinking no one had seen, but unexpectedly, some busybody swiftly saved the image and forwarded it to Ningshu. Ningshu immediately went berserk, bombarding Shanlanshan with endless calls. Shanlanshan slept like a log, completely oblivious to the ringing. When she woke up, her WeChat was flooded with hundreds of messages from Ningshu. The last one said he was already on his way to the UK. What do we do now? Shanlanshan asked, on the verge of tears. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Got it. You're saying I should hire some muscle to beat him back. Why don't you just hire a hitman? Works for me. Miss, I was just kidding. No output as the provided text is empty or contains only a non-printing character. Jokes aside, Ningshu actually showed up. The group photo was taken near campus. The distinctive buildings made it obvious to Ningshu this was Imperial College. I was pretty confident at first, with such a huge campus. How could he possibly find me? But I forgot, you shouldn't jinx things by speaking too soon. That Thursday, I was rushing to the lab with a stack of documents in my arms. Turning a corner, I collided head-on with someone. Sorry, a familiar voice rang out. There was no time to run. I looked up and saw Ningshu right there. 2 whole years had passed, and Ningshu's appearance had changed noticeably. He seemed more composed than before, yet burdened with unspoken thoughts. At this moment, I'm profoundly grateful I'd bundled up completely, not just wearing a hat, but even wrapping my scarf over everything below my eyes. Papers scattered everywhere as I silently gathered them with bowed head. Ningshu stared blankly into my eyes. Did he find something out? I hastily packed my things and bolted out of there. Thought I'd dodged a bullet. The next day, there was a theory class. The WeChat group created by Chinese classmates was buzzing with activity. Who's that guy in the back row? Never seen him before, no idea, probably just auditing the class. Who'd want to sit in on our boring major anyway? Looking kind of fine. I turned back curiously for a glance. Wait, Ningshu, seems like he spotted me too. Our eyes met for a split second before I quickly turned away. I prayed silently that they wouldn't get a clear look at my face, yet throughout the entire class, that burning gaze never left my back. When class ended, I was the first one out the door. I thought I could finally escape Ningshu's pursuit this way, never expected him to be quicker than me. At the foot of the teaching building, he called out to me, "Hey classmate, did you forget your student ID?" I paused mid-step, rummaged through my pocket. Sure enough, it was there. Must have dropped my student ID when we bumped into each other yesterday. Didn't even notice he'd picked it up. His leather shoes tapped lightly against the marble floor, soft yet unnervingly distinct. "The photo on this looks really nice," he said. "Don't you agree, classmate He Yuning?" 11. There's no point in running away now. Ningshu had already figured out it was me. That's how he knew exactly which classroom to find. I turned around and snatched the student ID from his hand. "Let me correct you. My name is He Yueshin. Joy within, joy without. I love myself. What about He Yuning? He's gone." He stared at me in silence. The British weather was being temperamental again. With a fine drizzle now falling, Ningshu's eyes mirrored the weather, hazy and unfathomable. "You've been reborn too, haven't you?" he whispered. Did you abandon even the name Yuning just to avoid seeing me?" "Yes, I did." Ningshu's eyes gradually reddened. "Why? Do I need a better reason than I hate you?" "Fair enough, I was a jerk. I hate myself too, but Ningning, no matter how much you despise me, don't avoid me, please." I gave him a weird look. "Are you insane? What's with this sudden dramatic confession? Say whatever you want, as long as it makes you happy." Ningshu stepped forward, grabbing my hand and pressing it against his chest. "Ningning, by the time I realized how deeply I loved you, it was already too late. Heaven punished me, making me endure your death twice. The agony tore me apart, until today." Before he could finish, I yanked my hand away and slapped him across the face. "Wake up. I stopped loving you ages ago." 12. My blow sent Ningshu's head snapping sideways, leaving him dazed for a long moment. I hadn't held back my strength. A red mark gradually bloomed across his cheek. Young Master Ning had lived in pampered luxury, never once been struck before. He touched his face and smiled. To his surprise, it was a contented smile. Let's just say Ningning was willing to touch me. Shanlanshan was right. He'd completely lost his mind. Feel better now? If not, how about slapping this side of my face too? He even proactively offered his other cheek. I recoiled in disgust. Don't make me sick. Disgusting. Ningxu froze. You think I'm disgusting? Absolutely revolting. Could you bear with me and let me finish? No, I don't want to hear it. Just then, my savior arrived. Spotting the Maybach approaching through the rain, I sighed in relief. Gotta go, my boyfriend's here to pick me up. Boyfriend? Ningxu froze instantly, following my gaze. A man stepped out of the car and opened a black umbrella. I skipped happily under his sheltering canopy, not sparing Ningxu another glance. Ningxu's face darkened. This was someone he recognized. It's Shindu, 13. The Shin family has business interests in the UK, so Shindu has been spending most of his time in London these years. Before class ended, I sensed things were about to get messy, so I texted Shindu in advance to bail me out. Shindu arrived just in time. Thanks for earlier. Don't mention it. Is Shanshan bothering you with your studies? Not at all. She mentioned going to France today. Shindu gave me a ride to the supermarket to pick up some groceries before heading back to the dorm. The dorm hallway was empty. I'll head in first, I said, waving at Shindu. He suddenly pulled me into his arms and kissed me passionately. The motion sensor light went out. In the darkness, I responded to him cautiously. After what felt like an eternity, his kiss nearly suffocating me, Shindu finally loosened his grip. When should we tell Shanshan about us? I whispered. Just wait a little longer. He pouted. Am I really that embarrassing to show off? It's not that. The words melted into our next lingering kiss. Shindu and I have only been together for half a month. Even now, it still feels surreal when I think about it. That day. He calmly asked if I'd like to try dating him, mesmerized by his striking features. I found myself nodding without thinking. After calming down, I started having second thoughts. Shindu is after all my best friend's own brother. Wouldn't this be kind of inappropriate? Sensing my hesitation, Shindu immediately asked, do you still have feelings for Ningxu? Of course not. Then give me a chance. I'm great, not inferior to anyone. You've got nothing to lose by trying. He made a compelling point. I'm not going to stay single forever just because of one lousy guy. Shindu is genuinely wonderful, thoughtful and caring, but something still feels off when we're together. I keep things polite with him, and he does the same. Only in the darkness like this do we dare to hold each other. Shindu's passionate kiss was interrupted as a plastic bag fell to the ground with a dull thud. Is Ningning back yet? Shenlanshan's voice suddenly rang out. She happily ran to the door. Pulled the door open. 14. Alarm bells rang in my head as I swiftly pushed Shindu away. Caught off guard, Shindu was shoved against the wall with a muffled grunt. That must have hurt. I gave him an apologetic look. Huh, brother, what are you doing here? Shenlanshan asked in surprise. We ran into each other, and your brother gave me a ride to the supermarket. I changed the subject. What about you? Weren't you supposed to go to France today? Don't even ask, with all the strikes in France. I had to cancel my flight, Shindu said. You two chat. I've got work to do heading out first. After closing the door, Shenlanshan looked me over. Ningning, what happened to your lips? They're so red. I fidget guiltily. Had some spicy food on the way here. Ha, serves you right for sneaking snacks without me. Your Highness speaks wisely. By the way, I've noticed my brother acting strange lately. What's wrong? I think he's in a relationship. My hand trembled. Spilling the water I was pouring. Any evidence for that? Totally. Look, he used to post on social media like once every 6 months. But now he's flooding his feed with random stuff, snapping stray dogs, wildflowers, even writing cheesy captions like "The moon looks beautiful tonight." Classic signs of someone crushing hard. Detective Shenlanshan swiped through her phone as she walked me through the analysis. She didn't notice that Shindu had sent me a message. Shindu, it hurts me from the bump just now. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I was too nervous. Shindu, puppy dog eyes. JPG, normally restrained and rigid. Shindu's occasional cute antics like this create a striking contrast. Shindu, wanting compensation/fidgeting fingers. Me, got it. I'll make it up to you next time. Ningning. Shenlanshan paused and looked at me quizzically. Who are you texting? You've been grinning at your screen this whole time. Oh, just came across an adorable puppy video. I desperately changed the subject, even at the cost of revealing something personal. I ran into Ningxu today. She completely forgot about Shindu, just as expected. So, did he see you? I gave her a rough rundown, leaving out the part about Shindu. Shenlanshan clicked her tongue. He's completely unhinged these days, don't hit him yourself next time, I'm afraid he might actually enjoy it. Shenlanshan was absolutely right. Ningxu has completely lost his mind now. That very night, just as we were about to sleep, the dorm group chat exploded. There's a guy kneeling outside building C, whose desperate simp got left behind. 15. Someone took a photo and shared it in the group chat. The moment I saw Ningxu, I nearly passed out. It had been raining nonstop outside. He knelt in the downpour, looking haggard and pitiful. Dormitory access requires a keycard, since he couldn't get in. He had no choice but to kneel there waiting for me to come down. Honestly, I wouldn't even spare Ningxu a glance if he dropped dead on the sidewalk. But the international student community is tight-knit. If I don't put a stop to this, the gossip will spread from London to Scotland by tomorrow. I just want to focus on my studies, not become the main character in campus drama. I stormed downstairs, seething with rage. Ningxu, how far are you willing to take this? Ningxu's eyes lit up. Ning. You finally came to see me, I sneered. Missed me that much? Humph. In my past life when I was dying, why didn't you come to see me? His smile instantly collapsed. I'm sorry, so sorry, Ning. I know I was wrong. Believe it or not, I'd actually fallen for you long before in that lifetime. I just couldn't face it. That's why I treated you so coldly. Disgusting. Just shut up. Ningxu stopped me with obsessive persistence and continued, because I'm consumed by guilt. I owe Shenlanshan this debt. Hearing Shenlanshan's name, I froze mid-step. Ning. Shenlanshan made me promise to take care of you before she died. That's the only reason I married you. But after a few years of marriage, I realized I'd developed feelings for you. No output as the provided text is empty or contains only a non-printing character. Ningxu's voice was hoarse, flickering like an aging light bulb. In that moment, I was terrified. I felt I'd betrayed Shenlanshan. I deliberately distanced myself, brainwashed myself into numbness. Later, when I met Xiaoqiu who resembled her, I showered the girl with affection just to prove my undying love for Shenlanshan. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Hilarious. If you love me so much, why didn't you stay on the yacht for me? I reincarnated slightly later than you. The first thing I saw was you pushing Shenlanshan toward me. He was filled with remorse. If only I'd acted sooner, I would never have let you stay. No output as the provided text is empty or contains only a non-printing character. I pressed further. What about when I had brain cancer? He fell silent. After a long pause, he finally muttered guiltily, I'm sorry, I actually thought you were lying about the brain cancer. When Ningxu saw I remained unmoved, he dropped to his knees with a thud. Ning, please give me another chance. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I shook my head impatiently. Ningxu, we can only be strangers now. I won't love you anymore, nor will I hate you, because hatred is still a powerful emotion, and you don't deserve even that. Ningxu's breath hitched. He was about to beg when sudden noises came from the stairwell. I pulled open the fire door to find Shenlanshan standing there. She must have been hiding here to protect me, probably afraid of what Ningxu might do, but now she stood pale-faced. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. 16. After I said it was fine, Shenlanshan forced a smile. Can I ask a few questions? Go ahead. Was everything you just said true? It's true. In my past life, was I the one who died? Did I ask him to take care of you? Then you died of brain cancer. But before that, he was with my replacement. Shenlanshan was trembling from head to toe. The next second, she lunged forward and slapped Ningxu hard across the face. How fucking dare you treat Ning like that? The slap wasn't enough. She grabbed Ningxu by the collar, nearly hysterical, every word dripping with venom. How dare you treat her like that? Answer me, using my name to hurt her. What gives you the right? What fucking right do you have? With that pathetic excuse you call love? This is ridiculous, Ningxu. To me, you're not even worth one of my best friend's fingernails. Ningxu offered no resistance. He looked at me with despair in his eyes, as if still clinging to the faint hope that I might take pity on him. Now I finally understand why Ning refuses to see you. Shenlanshan kicked him away. Ningxu, you truly don't deserve it. She pulled me along and resolutely went upstairs. That moment seemed to have drained Shenlanshan of all her strength. Back in the room, she leaned against me in silence. After what felt like an eternity, she asked tentatively, does it hurt? What's this? A brain tumor? It must be excruciating. Shenlanshan suddenly sobbed. Ning, you've suffered so much. Tears came streaming down my face. To be honest, I haven't shed a tear since that first death. no sorrow has ever been worth my tears, yet somehow, hearing Shenlanshan say those words, I could no longer hold back my tears. That's what true friends are like. She always sees right through my pain and sorrow, no matter how I try to hide, she sees my true self. I remained silent, and Shenlanshan didn't press further. She patted me gently, like a belated comfort. The pain's gone now, Ningning, it won't hurt anymore. 17. The next day, Shenlanshan dragged me to a medical checkup. The doctor said I was perfectly healthy. I told her not to worry, in my past life. The doctor said this illness stemmed from pent-up anger, constant unhappiness is what made me sick. Now I'm truly happy, every day feels fulfilling, and I won't fall ill again. On the way home, Shenlanshan made a wish to the turtle in the pond. I asked, what are you doing? Shoo, I answered it for you. Answered what? May my daughter live as long and healthy as this turtle. Me, touched yet annoyed, what's going on with me? Ever since learning about her past life, Shenlanshan changed. She stopped obsessing over shopping and entertainment. She returned home and began working seriously, getting involved in the family business. She vowed to gradually dismantle Ningshu's company to avenge me. Shenlanshan truly took after her brother, a quick learner with ruthless efficiency. Ningshu found himself constantly under her attacks, overwhelmed and too preoccupied to bother with me. I was finally able to enjoy a period of peace. Christmas came around in the blink of an eye. I'd made plans to spend it with Shendu. We started talking about how Shenlanshan was doing lately. I said, aren't you going to rein in your little sister? Just let her be. The Ning family's company makes for perfect practice. I nearly spat out my drink, so in Shendu's eyes, Ningshu was just practice material. To be honest, if Shanshan doesn't take him down, I will. Why? I can't stand him. Lost in thought, Shendu leaned in and kissed me. Stop thinking about him. I wasn't. I stopped liking him ages ago. Be good, feel these abs. If you don't touch them, all my workouts were for nothing. Heavy snow was falling outside. The atmosphere inside grew increasingly intimate. This was the first night Shendu and I spent together. It wasn't until midnight that we finally collapsed into bed, utterly exhausted, just as drowsiness began to take hold. The electronic beep of fingerprint recognition suddenly pierced the silence. Surprise, Ningning. I came to celebrate the holidays with you. Shenlanshan appeared in the doorway, her suitcase rolling behind her. 18. I got dressed and walked out of the bedroom. You could have told me you were coming. I almost didn't hide your brother in time. Just wanted to surprise you. Here's your Christmas present. How did you get up here then? Someone happened to swipe their card to open the door, so I just followed them in. Shenlanshan and I exchanged gifts. I bought her those new smart glasses she'd been raving about. Had to camp out overnight just to snag a pair on launch day. Shenlanshan put on her glasses, absolutely thrilled. After studying for quite a while, she finally decided to take a break. I'm exhausted. Right after finishing work, I caught the earliest flight, just in time for Christmas. Shenlanshan headed straight for the bedroom. This lady needs her beauty sleep. Wait. I glanced nervously at the wardrobe and stopped her. Girl. You've lost so much weight. Work's been draining me. But don't worry. Once I take over Ningshu's company, I'll cut you in on the shares. She took off her coat and moved to hang it in the wardrobe. I quickly grabbed her arm. Let me hang that for you. Oh, okay. Why do you seem so nervous? Because your brother's hiding in the closet. The mighty CEO of Shin Corporation is now squeezed into my tiny wardrobe. After helping Shenlanshan hang up her coat, she reached for the wardrobe door again. A sudden knock at the door interrupted her movement. Our attention simultaneously shifted to the doorway. Who could possibly be coming at this late hour? This is a student dorm. We rarely get outsiders, so there's no peephole on the door. I opened the door without hesitation. Ningshu stood outside, arms full of gifts and roses. Shenlanshan rolled her eyes. Persistent little pest. What do you want now? Ningshu ignored her, looking straight at me as he said, Merry Christmas, Ningning. This is for you. He held out a plush toy, carefully gauging my reaction. It was the exact plushie I'd been longing for. It's a limited edition release every Christmas, affordable but incredibly hard to get. I know Ningshu is acquainted with its designer, yet he's never gifted one to me. But after Shacho came along, he gave her one. You used to love it, do you still like it now? Ningshu asked cautiously. I replied, haven't liked it for ages. He said wistfully, that's alright. Keep it anyway, you might rediscover your fondness for it someday. No way. I pushed him away. Take your roses too, you're not welcome here. Ningning, I know you lied about having a boyfriend. What's this? You only said that to spite me. I get it now. How ridiculous. Where does he get that confidence? Hearing this, Shindu inside the room couldn't hold back anymore. He stepped out of the bedroom and said irritably, "Who are you calling fake? Mr. Ning. Have some self-respect and stop harassing my girlfriend." Even Ning Shu was taken aback this time. Shen Lanshan's eyes widened in shock. 10 minutes later, the two men left one after another. Only Shen Lanshan and I remained in the room. We stared at each other in silence. To be precise, the young Miss Shen was clearly upset and giving me the cold shoulder. I offered my apology earnestly. "If you're uncomfortable with me dating your brother, I'll break up with him right now. How could romance ever compare to all these years of friendship? Shindu will just have to bear with it. I'm sure he'll understand. I'm not mad about that." Shen Lanshan crossed her arms. "I'm furious that after being this close, you kept it from me. And my brother, I'm his only blood sister, his own sister. And he goes after my best friend. How is that acceptable?" "Don't blame him. I made him keep it from you. Hey Yuashin, didn't we promise to share all our romantic prospects with each other?" I sighed. "It's my fault. I'm afraid things might not last with your brother." "What, is he treating you badly? I'll go beat him up right now." No, he's wonderful. That's exactly the problem. He's too wonderful. Shindu once told me he'd never been in love before. I was his first relationship. He said he was serious about this, that he was looking for marriage. Marriage, such a weighty word, I said gloomily to Shen Lanshan. "You know I was married once, to Ningshu. How it ended, you're aware of that." Ning, are you scared?" Shen Lanshan saw right through me. "Yes, I don't think I'm ready yet, and I don't know how to face your brother. If we ever break up, you'd be caught in the middle. It'd be awkward, so I figured I'd wait until I've sorted myself out before telling you." "I see." Shen Lanshan quickly let it go. "You know, I've always thought my brother's been acting strange these past few years. What's wrong? Don't you think the timing of his lifeboat deployment was too perfect? And he's invested in some overseas project, apparently researching brain tumors." "What's this?" I was taken aback. A bold idea suddenly occurred to me. Shen Lanshan and I had the same thought. Holy shit, did he get reincarnated too? 20. I decided to confront Shindu and get to the bottom of this. It was my first time visiting his residence in England. The password is my birthday. Looks like Shindu isn't home. The study door was ajar, and my eyes were immediately drawn to the densely packed documents covering the walls. Every single one was about brain cancer research, how to prevent, how to treat. Right at the center of the documents was a photo of me. It was a picture Shen Lanshan took of me during our freshman year sports meet. I had just finished the 100-meter dash. Flashing a victory sign with a smile, a sheet of paper dangled beneath the photo, covered with little notes about me. She loved watching the ocean, but after Shanshan's death, she developed a fear of the sea. She adored a certain brand's bunny plushies, the limited Christmas editions released annually that she never managed to get. She was diagnosed with cancer at 34. To keep her spirits up, take her for regular checkups. Every word is infused with profound, passionate love. To think someone had carefully preserved even the darkest chapter of my life. Shindu appeared silently at the doorway. "I knew I couldn't keep it from you." I turned to him. "So, you're living a second life too?" He nodded. "I was reborn on the day of the shipwreck, sent rescue boats immediately, just made it in time." When Shindu realized it was me they'd rescued, he began to suspect we shared the same secret. "Shindu, I never realized before that you," he chuckled, "back then. Your heart only had room for Ning Shu. You saw me as nothing more than your friend's brother, not even a real friend. I was afraid if I confessed and got rejected, you'd avoid even Shen Lanshan." Truth be told, in my past life, my interactions with Shindu were few and far between, and whenever I reject someone, I usually block them and keep my distance. "When did you start liking me?" He pointed at that freshman year photo. "Before this." Which means he'd already noticed me back in high school when my classmates and I visited Shen Lanshan's place. In my memory, he'd always ask everyone with gentle courtesy, "Would you like ice cream, or some fruit?" Turns out, his gaze had been fixed on me all along. A flood of emotions washed over me as I recalled, "In your past life, you never married, because of you," Shindu admitted candidly. "After my death, he lived out his remaining years in solitude. On the day he died of old age, he was still clutching that worn-out hair ribbon in his hand. I'd left it behind during my first visit to Shen Lanshan's home, the only keepsake I ever left him." Shindu said, "Had I known marriage would treat you so poorly, I would've." "About what?" "About stealing you away." I stared into his clear eyes. momentarily speechless. Shindu, have you never resented me? What's there to blame you for? About Shinlanshan's death. You didn't wreck the yacht. You didn't summon the storm. The decision to set sail was entirely Shanshan's. Why on earth would we blame you? He comfortingly ruffled my hair. I don't blame you. Shanshan doesn't blame you. And you shouldn't blame yourself either. Don't blame yourself. Finally, someone said these words to me. My nose stung, and I nearly cried again. Shinlanshan once told me her family were nouveau riche. Ever seen cultured folks name their daughter something so ominous? My parents just thought Lanshan sounded pretty, didn't even check the dictionary. Their lack of education bit them, so now they're dead serious about me and my brother's schooling. Shinlanshan wasn't lying. Both siblings turned out exceptionally well educated. Ning, I've waited for you for so long. Shindu pressed a kiss to my forehead, long enough to last a lifetime, suddenly. I remembered his confession from back then. Would you like to try dating me? So calm and restrained. Yet love had long been gathering unseen, year after year, into rushing torrents. Those waters finally came before me one day, mending the shattered pieces of my life, putting me back together bit by bit. Ning, thank you, for what? My voice caught in my throat. Thank you, for finally seeing me, Shindu said contentedly. 21. Time flew by in a blur. 2 years later, I successfully completed my graduate studies. At the graduation ceremony, I took the stage as the valedictorian representing our entire college. The Shin siblings came to attend my graduation ceremony. Lanshan Shin has changed a lot. She's grown into a capable professional with the demeanor of a young executive. We call her Little CEO Shin now. The acquisition plan for Ningxu Company will be finalized this year. Several UK companies offered me positions, hoping I'd stay. Yet I chose to return home. Applying my life's learning to build our nation is my deepest aspiration. After starting work, I met Ningxu a few more times. I only saw him when work demanded it, or when we bumped into each other as classmates, never by choice. Until that final meeting, he asked, Ning, do I look different to you? I gave him a quick glance. Not really. He paused for a moment, looking dejected. I've lost weight, he said, a lot of weight. Oh, by the way, I said absent-mindedly, barely registering his words. I'm getting married. He froze instantly. Am married, yes. Shindu proposed to me. I'm really happy about it. We're getting married later this year. They say when people feel happy, many burdens just melt away. That's exactly how I feel right now. Even Ningxu doesn't seem so annoying anymore. Want to come? I can send you an invitation. He forced a smile. Sure. Back then, I had no idea. He can't make it. He's ill. With less than 6 months to live, 22, my wedding with Shindu was absolutely magnificent. Shinlanshan was my bridesmaid. She was happier than anyone else. Having my best friend become my sister-in-law means I'll never have to worry about in-law conflicts again. If she fights with my brother, obviously I'm siding with my girl. Sisters before misters. Brothers, never heard of them. Someone asked her, are you and your bestie really that close? I swipe on lipstick to mask my sickly pale lips. Later, Shindu slipped the diamond ring onto my finger. I looked at Shindu and said, I do. Below the stage, Shinlanshan sighed with emotion. I used to think no one deserved to be my sister-in-law. Now all I can say is, Shindu, how did you get so lucky? After the wedding, Ningxu sent gifts through an intermediary. The messenger said he'd gone traveling somewhere far away. He might never come back. I said, oh, well, wish him a pleasant journey. I pretended not to see his obituary. Life is but a fleeting journey between heaven and earth. Ningxu has embarked on his next journey. I too am about to embrace a brand new chapter of life, but I already have the love of my life and the greatest friend in the world. From now on, I shall fear no storm. The end. Story 2. Both Bian Yan and I were bullied at the same time, yet he fell in love with the girl who had been tormenting him. To please her, he abandoned me on the highway. A speeding bus crashed into me. In my last moment of life, I thought the most regretful thing I had ever done was falling for Bian Yan. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the classroom of my 18-year-old high school days. This time, when Tang Yao poured dirty water on Bian Yan again, I didn't step in to protect him. 1. Stinky orphan. No one loves you. He. Who are you pretending to be noble for? The summer sun shone brightly, and in the noisy classroom, I was back in high school once more. Tang Yao poured the dirty water from the glass bottle onto Bian Yan. She was followed by several lackeys. Ugh, it stinks so bad. A group of people burst into laughter. Bien Yen was at a loss, his body soaked, looking like a pitiful little animal. I just lay on the desk, motionless. I was truly curious. Why would a normal person develop feelings for someone who bullied them? In fact, Bien Yen and I could be considered childhood sweethearts. Both of us were orphans, growing up together in the orphanage since we were little. The tuition fees for school were sponsored by the Welfare Institute. In my previous life, due to continuous bullying, Bien Yen struggled in the extreme emotions of self-loathing. I was always by his side, pulling him out of the quagmire. After the college entrance examination, we went to the same university. During our junior year, we started a business together. He was in charge of the overall project planning, and I was responsible for external communication. It took us 4 years to hire employees, establish the company, and reach an annual turnover of over 100 million yuan. I thought we could keep walking together like this, but then Tang Yao came back. Her father's company went bankrupt. At a banquet, she cried to Bien Yen, "I'm begging you, I'll do anything, please save my dad." Bien Yen gave her a cold look. "What can you offer me?" Although he said that, he kept Tang Yao by his side. He not only invested a large sum of money in her father's company but also fulfilled all her wayward demands. He was incredibly good to her. I even stormed into Bien Yan's office and queried him, "Do you know what you're doing? Her father's company is a bottomless pit with a mountain of bad debts. You're risking all our years of hard work." He looked at me, shook his head, and smiled bitterly. "Qixia, you don't understand me." Indeed, I didn't understand him. After he let Tang Yao slap me, I decided to leave Bien Yen, but there were too many funds jointly involved between Bien Yen and me, and it wasn't easy to divide them up immediately, especially that year. There was a huge project that required both of us to participate, but I never expected that on the way to that project, he would bring Tang Yao along. I lost my temper for the first time. This was a project plan I had prepared for a whole year. What was he thinking bringing Tang Yao with him? But Tang Yao said to him, "Bien Yen, since Sister Qixia doesn't like me so much, just leave her here, too." After having dirty water poured on him, Bien Yen instinctively looked back at me. Yes, every time he was bullied, I would immediately step forward, stand in front of him, and confront Tang Yao aggressively, even though I knew I was no match for her. She was a rich kid, surrounded by a group of friends, and none of them were easy to deal with. I averted my gaze. I completely ignored the pleading look he cast at me. "Yo yo yo. Even Qixia won't help you this time. So funny. What are you going to do? Cry or kneel down and beg for mercy? Ha ha ha." I listened to these words without any emotional fluctuation. I even yawned. In my previous life, I became the target of Tang Yao's bullying because I helped Bien Yen. If I hadn't meddled, I could have had nothing to do with that group of people at all. "Qixia, what's going on? Why are you just standing by?" Tang Yao was shocked to see me like this. She walked over, crossed her arms, and knocked hard on my desk. I picked up my textbook and started flipping through it. "I'm not his nanny. I have no obligation to take care of him." Hearing this, Bien Yan's face changed instantly. His eyes were red, his palms tightly clenched, and he called me softly, "Xia." I frowned in annoyance, pretended not to hear, and turned another page of the book. Tang Yao covered her mouth and laughed. "Seriously? Aren't you two childhood sweethearts, classmate Qixia? Would you be willing to swap seats with me?" I casually replied, "Whatever." Bien Yen and I had been desk mates for 3 years in high school. During school, Tang Yao always wanted to swap seats with me to sit next to Bien Yen, but I firmly refused. Even when Tang Yao brought the teacher over, I clearly stated that casually changing seats would affect my studies, and I didn't want to be disturbed. Since my grades were consistently in the top 10 of the grade, the teacher hesitated. Although the Tang family had influence, the teacher didn't want to risk a student's grades, but this time, I simply nodded. "If you want to swap, we can do it right now." As I spoke, I started packing up the exercise books on my desk. "Xia, what's wrong with you?" It was Bien Yen. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, looked at me intently, his lips trembling, and his voice tinged with grievance. "What did I do to make you angry?" I sighed, then I shook off Bien Yan's hand. "Don't call me Xia anymore." 3. I carried my school bag and walked to Tang Yao's seat. I could vaguely guess why Tang Yao wanted to swap seats. A big part of it must be because of her deskmate, He Tingzhou. I stole a quick glance at the gloomy teenager sitting beside me, not daring to say much, and quietly started arranging my books. In my previous life, I didn't have much interaction with He Tingzhou, but I still had a deep impression of him. He came from a wealthy family, His father was a well-known real estate tycoon, and his mother was an artist. His life should have been smooth sailing, but in primary school, he had a serious car accident that left his calf disabled. And he could no longer stand up. From then on, he was confined to a wheelchair. He Tingzhou was taciturn and rarely talked to those around him. Although Tang Yao was the queen bee in the class, she didn't dare to offend him. My knowledge of him mainly came from the grade rankings after each exam. He Tingzhou's name was almost always at the top. I thought his abilities combined with his family background would lead to a bright future for him. However, that wasn't the case. It wasn't until a class reunion after college that I learned he had passed away, committing suicide by cutting his wrists, because he could no longer bear his identity as a disabled person. Qixia, stand up and answer this question. I was lost in my thoughts when I suddenly heard my name called. Before I knew it, the class bell had rung. It was a physics class. The middle-aged, slightly bald physics teacher stood on the podium, staring at me with a dark expression. In my previous life, I always felt that this teacher disliked me for no apparent reason. Perhaps it was because among all the subjects, physics was my weakest. Looking at the long string of questions on the blackboard, I took a deep breath, tried to recall my high school knowledge, and slowly, with hesitation, stated my solution. Is that all? The physics teacher tapped the podium with the eraser. Classmate Qixia, your performance has declined. I was at a loss for words. It wasn't that my skills had declined. It was just that my mind hadn't solved such problems for years. Just as I was feeling embarrassed, a note was suddenly passed to me. The handwriting on it was neat and clean. It showed a concise and efficient solution, along with the answer. My deskmate, He Tingzhou, still didn't look up. His long fingers gently turned a page of the textbook. On that page were the key points of this lesson. He was helping me out. I gave him a grateful look, collecting my thoughts. My past physics knowledge gradually came back to me, and I gave the answer. He Tingzhou truly lived up to his reputation as a genius. He could come up with such an excellent solution in such a short time. All right, sit down. The teacher pursed his lips and casually criticized me. Pay attention in the future. Don't daydream in class. When solving problems, think comprehensively and don't forget to consider the second scenario. 4. I suddenly realized that the withdrawn and gloomy teenager might not be as scary as he seemed. He might just be sensitive and vulnerable. I grew up in an orphanage, surrounded by children with similar experiences. Some had lost both parents, and their relatives refused to take care of them, so they had to live there. Some were born with disabilities, such as blindness or severe physical problems, and were abandoned at the orphanage gate at birth. Very few of us grew up happily and carefree. Most of us were self-abased and introverted. We yearned for others' care but dared not take the first step. Although He Tingzhou came from a wealthy family, he was actually quite similar to us. I wanted to give it a try and be the one to extend the olive branch first. More importantly, although I had always been at the top of my class in high school, after all these years, I had forgotten most of the basic knowledge. I urgently needed someone to help me review. I decided to ask the academic genius, He Tingzhou, to be my teacher. The next day, I placed the cookies I made on He Tingzhou's desk. His hand holding the pen paused. He looked up and stared straight at me. I tried to give him a sincere smile. He Tingzhou, thank you for helping me in yesterday's physics class. These are my token of gratitude. He glanced at the cookies. He casually asked, did you make these? Yes, I was confident in my cooking skills. There weren't many caregivers in the orphanage, since I was 6 or 7 years old. I had to learn to take care of myself. Doing laundry, cleaning, and cooking were all routine tasks. When Bian Yan was a child, he was very skinny, and sometimes his lunch would be snatched away by older kids. To make sure he didn't go hungry, I would sneak into the kitchen at night to see what food I could cook. That's when I learned how to make cookies and other snacks. He casually picked one up and put it in his mouth. How is it? I asked nervously. He Tingzhou didn't give a definite answer. His right index finger tapped on the table, as if he could see through my thoughts. You're weak in electromagnetism. I nodded quickly. He gently pushed an exercise book towards me and opened it to the middle. Start from here. Pay special attention to the questions I marked. 5. Just like that, with a box of cookies, I managed to get a little closer to He Tingzhou. After that, I often brought some small snacks. They weren't expensive, and almost all of them were made by me in the morning. He and I had a similar habit of sorting out knowledge points in the early morning, during the break after morning self-study. Just as I was concentrating on the questions in He Tingzhou's exercise book, A panicked cry suddenly came from the 2 rows in front of me. It was Bien Yan's voice. Caught off guard, I instinctively looked up in that direction. Almost all the classmates in the class were drawn to the commotion. Those sitting far away even leaned forward, curiously peering over. Bien Yan stood up from his seat, his face pale, his lips quivering continuously. There was a piece of plasticine on the desk with red spots on it. Upon closer inspection, several sharp, jagged objects were protruding from it. It was as if someone had cut a blade into sharp pieces and stuffed them inside. God, blood, there's blood, a girl sitting by the aisle exclaimed. Only then did I notice that there was a noticeable wound on Bien Yan's hand hanging by his side. With blood dripping onto the floor. You didn't even last 10 seconds. Why did you let go? Tang Yao rolled her eyes. She poked Bien Yan's stomach with a ruler. You lose this game. Bien Yan lowered his head and said softly, I didn't know there was a blade in the eraser. Please don't play such dangerous games anymore. What a buzzkill. Tang Yao's face fell. She took back the ruler and slammed it hard on the desk. With a loud snap, the ruler made a clear sound and bounced onto the chair in front. After watching for a while, many people understood what had happened. It was just that the young miss was bored today and came up with a new way to torment the commoners. Yao Yao, the poor wretch was scared to death by you today. He looks like he's about to cry. Several of her friends leaned in and whispered in her ear. Tang Yao snorted and turned to look at Bien Yan. He had just sat down, looking dazed. Hey, are you really going to cry? Tang Yao suddenly gave him a hard push. Alright, I'll take you to the school infirmary. We don't want you to get infected. Huh? Bien Yan looked up in a daze. I was copying a big question from the blackboard and happened to meet his gaze. He shook his head. No need. I can take care of it myself. 6. In my previous life. Bien Yan was always behind me. This was the first time I had observed his interaction with Tang Yao so directly. It was a very strange feeling. That Tang Yao is quite something. He Tingzhou said as he threw a folded paper crane into a glass bottle, slap someone in the face and then offer a sweet date. What a way to psychologically manipulate people. The first day I sat next to him, I discovered that he had the hobby of paper folding, which didn't match his aloof persona at all. Constant physical torture and verbal abuse. Just when you're on the verge of despair and can't take it anymore, she'll pat your head and offer a little comfort, then you'll be overjoyed, feeling guilty for all your previous struggles and resistance. You might even feel an illusory sense of gratitude, thinking, ah, she's actually so good to me. Was that really the case? My mind was in a jumble, and I kept stabbing the scratch paper with the tip of my pen. I didn't even notice when Bien Yan came up beside me. Xia, he stood by my desk, his shadow falling on my book pages. My hand is injured, can you bandage it for me? In the past, without him asking, I would have already taken his hand forwardly and gotten out the alcohol and gauze. No, perhaps I wouldn't have even allowed him to get hurt in the first place. I would have grabbed Tang Yao by the collar, pinned her to the ground, and told her, want to play games, I'll play with you. But now, I knew that some people weren't worth your efforts. The school infirmary is open 24 hours a day. I'm sure you know where it is, I said coldly, turning my attention back to the half-finished problem at hand. But, Bien Yan forced a smile. This time, he directly placed his hand on my desk. Xia, it really hurts. The wound on his hand was clearly deep, blood was still seeping out, even dripping onto my desk. I was really getting irritated. I didn't know if I had been too good to Bien Yan in the past, which led him to develop the habit of relying on me. Take your hand away, it's dirty, he Tingzhou suddenly interjected, looking up from his textbook. He grabbed a few tissues and threw them over. Wipe it up quickly. If you want to play such stupid games, don't mess up other people's desks. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. I had to admit, he Tingzhou knew how to strike at the heart. Bien Yan slowly suppressed the smile on his lips, and his back straightened little by little. He actually picked up the tissues he Tingzhou had thrown over, gripping them with his slender fingers and vigorously wiping his wound. Some pieces of paper stuck to the surface of the wound. Just looking at it made me wince. He actually had a bit of pride in his bones. Let's switch seats. He stared directly into He Tingzhou's eyes. Xia and I have always been deskmates. There's no need to separate us. Oh, so what? He Tingzhou smiled. What does that have to do with me? I like this seat and don't want to move at all. Besides, aren't you going to ask classmate Xia if she wants to sit with you? He Tingzhou took out another piece of paper from his metal box and started folding a paper crane nonchalantly. The question was now directed at me, but Bien Yan didn't ask me. as if he was afraid to hear the answer from me. Thankfully, the class bell rang. The homeroom teacher walked in. Carrying a large stack of test papers, she looked at Bien Yen and exclaimed, "Goodness, what happened?" Thanks to the teacher's intervention, the restless atmosphere in the class finally subsided. 7. This wound clearly looks like it was caused by a sharp object. The homeroom teacher walked over, grabbed Bien Yan's wrist, and frowned, her tone serious. "How could such a dangerous thing happen in the classroom? Tell me, exactly what happened." I guessed that he definitely wouldn't mention Tang Yao's name. Sure enough, Bien Yan bit his lip and remained silent. The homeroom teacher was obviously dissatisfied with this answer. She randomly pointed at a student who had her head down. "You, tell me what exactly happened during the last break." The girl kept her head down, stammering, and finally managed to squeeze out, "I went to the restroom, I don't know." No one wanted to offend Tang Yao, the teacher sighed, looking helpless. She asked the monitor to accompany Bien Yan to the infirmary and then started the class. In the next few days after this incident, there was a period of peace between Tang Yao and Bien Yan. It seemed like everything was over. Coincidentally, the mid-term exam was approaching, and I was so busy preparing that I didn't have time to pay attention to them, and He Tingzhou and I seemed to have more and more topics in common. I was surprised to find that when I was in primary school, I had even been to the wealthy area where He Tingzhou lived. At that time, a wealthy merchant donated a large sum of money to our orphanage. He was very old and had no children. His only wish was for some children to visit him often. In the year before he passed away, we went to see him almost every month. Sometimes we sang and talked with him, and sometimes we just listened quietly as he told stories about the past. I learned about this coincidence when I was pushing He Tingzhou's wheelchair along the corridor. From being cold and distant at first, he now tacitly allowed me to take him around the school. When he was in a good mood, he would even let me give him a quick sprint on the playground. Our relationship was progressing rapidly. I couldn't help but raise my voice and ask, "He Tingzhou, we might have met before." He ignored me, although I said that I thought that even if we had met before, after all these years, we surely wouldn't remember. We just reached the corner of the stairs. Just as I was about to push him around, I suddenly heard the voices of Tang Yao and her cronies. First came the dissatisfied complaints of her lackeys. "Yao Yao, hasn't your dad scolded you these past few days?" I've disliked that homeroom teacher for a long time. It was such a small thing, yet she still called the parents. It must have been that low-life Bien Yan who snitched. Tang Yao stomped her foot and snorted. "I was too nice to him these past few days. He's getting too bold, even changing seats with He Tingzhou. I have to teach him a lesson." 8. After saying these words, Tang Yao slapped the door of the adjacent classroom hard. The iron door creaked. It was locked. "Let's go." "Never mind it," someone said. After these people left, chatting and laughing, via the front stairs, I pushed He Tingzhou out. That classroom was a storage room. It had a dark green painted door, and inside were discarded teaching aids and equipment. It was only opened once every few months. There were no windows, and it was dim and gloomy. Looking at the backs of Tang Yao and the others as they left, I felt that something was off about this. From what they said, it seemed that when Bien Yan was cut by the knife, the homeroom teacher had called Tang Yao's parents, and these people suspected that Bien Yan had snitched. Although it was almost certain that things weren't as they thought, given their personalities, they would surely seek revenge. I looked at this storage room. Could it be that they locked Bien Yan inside? Actually, I didn't care what happened to Bien Yan at all. But then I suddenly remembered that this person suffered from claustrophobia. Bien Yan was brought to the welfare institute by the police. He was very young, around 4 or 5 years old. The neighbors called the police because there was a foul smell coming from his house. When the police arrived, they found that both his parents had committed suicide at home. He was huddled up, hiding in the closet for several days. If a meticulous female police officer hadn't opened the closet door, he might have been overlooked. When the female police officer carried Bien Yan out, he had wounds all over his body. Wounds from being whipped with a belt, beaten with a stool, and even from having nails dug into his skin and twisted. The neighbor stood at the door, covering their nose with one hand and saying in disgust, "That couple was crazy. They fought every day." After the fights, when they were in a bad mood, they would beat the child. Every night, we could hear the child crying. It was so annoying. I thought they would die with their son, but they had a bit of conscience and left the child alive. When Bien Yan introduced himself at the Welfare Institute for the first time, he said, "My name is Bien Yan." Some children laughed and said, what a strange name, your parents must hate you. Bien Yen looked around nervously. Later, he told me, Xia, I envy you so much, your parents died saving others, my parents always beat me, sometimes when they didn't want to hit me anymore. My mom would lock me in the closet for a long time and only let me out when she remembered. But I'm so afraid of the dark, I told her I was scared so many times, but she didn't believe me. Xia, I wish so much that my parents loved me. What did I say then? I took hold of Bien Yan's wrist. I said, don't be afraid, I won't let anyone bully you again. 9. I raised my hand and knocked on the door of the storage room. When Bien Yan was locked in a dark, closed room, he would often become anxious, feel suffocated, and might even hurt himself. Just as I was about to lean in and listen for any movement inside, my sleeve was suddenly tugged. He Tingzhou beside me frowned, looking a bit unwell. Xia, I don't feel well. I bent down and asked, what's wrong? He clutched his stomach. My stomach hurts. If something really happened to He Tingzhou, I wouldn't be able to handle it alone. I quickly pushed him to the infirmary. Rushing in, I shouted, teacher, a student isn't feeling well. The school nurse, wearing a white coat, came out from the inner room. When he saw He Tingzhou, he exclaimed, ah, if it isn't classmate He. I was taken aback, thinking that He Tingzhou must be a frequent visitor to the infirmary. What's the matter today? The nurse washed his hands, took the wheelchair from me, and pushed He Tingzhou into the inner room. He glanced at me and nodded, you're his classmate, wait here. I agreed and sat on the sickbed in the outer room. The inner and outer rooms were separated by a curtain. Although I couldn't see what was happening, I could faintly hear some of the conversation. After a while, the nurse's voice came out, there's nothing serious. Have you been eating regularly these days? It's not a big deal, just remember to go for a medical check-up at the hospital regularly. Call me if you feel uncomfortable. Soon, the nurse pushed He Tingzhou back out to me. He kept his head down, and I couldn't see his expression clearly. I couldn't help but wonder, was there really something wrong with He Tingzhou's health? If he wasn't actually feeling unwell, why did he drag me to the infirmary? My mind was filled with these thoughts, and I didn't speak for a while. He Tingzhou was the first to break the silence. He coughed twice and looked up at me. Xia, I have something I want to give you. What is it? 10. It was PE class at the moment. Most of the students were freely moving around on the playground. He Tingzhou and I had sneaked out. I originally wanted to get the academic genius to give me some extra lessons and explain a couple more problems, but instead, we ran into Tang Yao and her group. Our plan was disrupted. I turned to him and asked, a gift, for me? He Tingzhou nodded slightly, it's in the classroom. I thought that since I often brought him small cookies in the morning, he was reciprocating with some corresponding small items, but it wasn't that. He took out a glass bottle from his desk drawer. Inside were the paper cranes he had been folding. They were in various colors, probably several hundred of them. I was stunned and, at a loss for words, asked an inappropriate question. He Tingzhou, how did you develop such a strange hobby? As soon as the words came out, I realized how impolite I was being. What kind of behavior was this? Instead of immediately accepting the gift and saying thank you, I was blabbering nonsense. My face instantly turned red, and I waved my hands in a panic. No. That's not what I meant. But He Tingzhou wasn't angry. He looked at me seriously and smiled. Xia, you were the one who gave me my first paper thin blanket over his legs, quietly gazing outside. There were many disabled children in the welfare institute, and we were used to seeing them, but his eyes looked exceptionally lonely and sad. The last time we were leaving, I took out a paper crane from my school bag. I had folded it out of the colorful paper on the cabinet at the merchant's house when I was bored. I ran over, reached my hand through the railing outside the garden, and handed it to him. Here, it's for you. He didn't say anything, just looked at me. That Grandpa said. I pointed to the merchant's house beside us. Paper cranes can carry people up to the sky. I'm giving you one so you can fly out of this garden and take a look. 11. I held that small piece of folded paper. So the paper crane from 10 years ago had, after many twists and turns, returned to my hands. I'd been waiting for you to come back, He Tingzhou said softly. He gently tapped on the glass jar. Later, I started folding paper cranes. Since you used to come on weekends, I would fold one every weekend. Like a pitiful little child making a wish, but you never showed up again. I sat down. For a moment, I even felt guilty. I didn't know that such a small action of mine could have had such a big impact on He Tingzhou. He looked up at the sky outside the window, as if recalling the past. At that time, I had my leg injured in an accident, and my whole world turned dark. My family was wealthy, and I had the best doctors treating me. My parents still seemed to love me. But I knew that I would never be the same as others again. When you came, my mother had just gotten pregnant. She smiled and asked me, "Tingzhou, you're going to have a little brother. Aren't you happy?" I wasn't happy. I felt abandoned, but I couldn't say it. If I did, everyone would think I was being willful and selfish. So, Qixia, when you said the paper crane could take me away, I really wanted to leave with you, at this moment. Tingzhou truly showed his vulnerable and sensitive side for the first time, afraid of being abandoned, afraid of being treated as an outsider. I took a deep breath and finally said, Tingzhou, no one will abandon you this time. He tilted his head, and a charming smile appeared on his lips. Really, even if Bian comes, you'll still choose me. I was a bit confused. Why compare yourself to that guy? I have nothing to do with him. Yes, Qixia, he doesn't deserve it. Tingzhou reached out and held my fingers. I sometimes wonder why, since Tingzhou knew me so long ago, he never mentioned it to me in our past life. Back then, we were like two parallel lines, moving straight in one direction without any intersection. A long time later, when we were already in college, he took over the business of an important department in his father's company, and I was preparing to pursue a master's degree. On weekends, we went on dates to coffee shops. I was poring over the formulas in my professional textbooks while he leaned over and insisted on playing with my hair. Suddenly, I thought of something. Tingzhou, if I hadn't sat next to you in high school, wouldn't we have gone our separate ways? He shook his head and said cockily, I would have written you love letters. When you saw them, you'd definitely be moved to tears by our fate. I gave him a light tap on the head. Humph. I just took his words as a casual joke, after all. In my past life, I never saw any love letters. 12. I closed the lid of the paper crane jar and put it in my backpack. After a while, the bell rang, signaling the end of the PE class. Students gradually returned to the classroom, including Tang Yao and her friends. They were chatting and laughing, looking extremely happy. There were still 2 self-study periods in the afternoon before school ended. During these 2 periods, many students would skip class and go home early. Without a teacher's supervision, about 1/3 of the classroom would usually be empty, and this time, Bian was also absent. He still hadn't shown up by the next morning. It was the 2nd period, and the homeroom teacher quickly noticed that some students were missing when she looked at the classroom. Did Bian ask for leave? She called the class monitor out. The monitor shook his head, clearly not knowing anything about it. Due to Bian's special circumstances, there were no parents to contact, and the only option was to call the welfare institute if they needed to reach his guardian. Although it was troublesome, it seemed to be the only way for now. The scene of seeing Tang Yao and the others in front of the storage room the previous day flashed through my mind. I never expected them to go so far as to lock Bian in the storage room for so long. If this matter was delayed any further, it would become very serious. Teacher, I seemed to hear some noises near the storage room yesterday. I raised my hand and stood up. The storage room. The homeroom teacher was taken aback, then quickly understood. She randomly pointed at several students. Monitor, Qixia, you all come with me. After thinking for a moment, she pointed at Tang Yao. You come too. When the security guard arrived with the key, the storage room was immediately opened. It was pitch dark inside, and the air smelled like rusty iron sheets. Damp and musty. There were all kinds of unused sports equipment scattered on the floor, and we had to be careful not to trip with every step. The security guard fumbled with the wall outside the corridor for a long time before finally finding the light switch. The moment the lights came on, it was so blinding that it almost made us close our eyes. Isn't that Bian? Someone suddenly exclaimed. My God, what happened to him? Someone call 120. Bian was curled up inside a cabinet in the corner, hugging his body tightly with his arms. Beside his feet was a piece of iron that had fallen off some equipment. His arms were covered with deep blood marks from being scratched by the iron piece. He slowly raised his head, revealing his wet eyes, but there was no light in his gaze. He murmured softly, Dad, Mom, shushya, I'm scared. 13, shushya. Bian saw me at the first glance. He stood up shakily, walked through the crowd, and hugged me tightly. Qixia, I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come for me. His voice was filled with grievance, confusion, and cautious dependence. You said you'd never leave me. He stretched out his arms, showing those deep and shallow wounds. It hurts, but I told myself that you wouldn't abandon me. It would take a while for the ambulance to arrive. Seeing the student in this state, the homeroom teacher's previous anxiety turned into anger. Who did this prank? If no one says anything, we'll check the surveillance. This kind of atmosphere in the class has been around for a long time, and it's time to put a stop to it. After saying that, she stormed out of the storage room, asking the security guard to take her to the surveillance room and telling the monitor to notify her when the doctor arrived. Damn, so pathetic. You're good at snitching, aren't you, little Miss Innocent? Tang Yao crossed her arms, leaned against the wall, and looked at us coldly. I pushed Bian Yen away and faced her. What do you mean? Don't you understand what I mean? Didn't you just tattle to the homeroom teacher in class, trying to get back at me? Huh, if I really get punished, none of you will get away with it. Humph. I didn't want to interfere when she bullied Bian Yen some time ago, but today, she came here to cause trouble again. Why should I put up with this? I was about to go over and argue with her when Bian Yen suddenly stepped in front of me. Tang Yao, it was you who locked me in the storage room. It's not fair for you to say such things about Qi Xia, Bian Yen said. In both this life and my past life, this was the first time he stood up to Tang Yao for me. Tang Yao was as surprised as I was. After a moment of shock, she clearly showed her dissatisfaction. She raised her hand and slapped Bian Yen across the face. What's wrong with what I said about Qi Xia? I can say whatever I want about her. What are you babbling on about here? Bian Yen, you're so funny. Do you like her or something? Seeing the situation getting out of control, the class monitor jumped in to mediate. Come on, we're all classmates. Let's talk this out. Tang Yao, don't be impulsive. Bian Yen, just apologize and it'll be over. Unfortunately, our class monitor was known for being a pushover. His feeble words were not enough to calm the chaos. Tang Yao grabbed Bian Yen by the collar and said each word mockingly. Little orphan, I advise you to give up. Your Xia doesn't want you anymore. She's already with that cripple He Tingzhou in the class. Even though he's disabled, his family is rich, and he's good at studying. What do you have, besides your looks? Ask yourself, what does a stinky orphan like you, with no parents, have? 14. Shut up. Bian Yan's face instantly turned extremely pale. He looked panicked but didn't dare to look at me. He just held on to Tang Yao tightly and kept repeating, shut up. I told you to shut up. I won't. Did you know? They skipped PE class together yesterday afternoon and sneaked into the classroom. Who knows what they were doing? Someone even saw them holding hands after school. Your Xia was so happy. Bian Yen suddenly became extremely agitated. Perhaps because he had been in that enclosed and dark environment for too long, the feeling of anxiety and unease still hadn't left him. He suddenly grabbed Tang Yao by the neck and growled, I told you to stop talking. Don't you understand? At this moment, he didn't look like the vulnerable and pitiful student who was bullied in high school. Instead, he was more like the decisive and ruthless leader he would become in the business world later. I immediately had a bad feeling and rushed up to try to pull Bian Yan's arm, but I was a step too late. He pushed Tang Yao against the railing, his eyes red and his voice trembling. You're the one who's despicable, who gave you the right to spread rumors. Tang Yao was also scared at this point, but she was used to being willful and arrogant, so she didn't back down. What do you mean by rumors? It's the truth. Maybe they've even kissed already. She was shouting and struggling as she spoke. But before she could finish, Bian Yen grabbed her neck and exerted a sudden, strong force. The two of them were grappling when, suddenly, Bian Yen flipped over and dragged Tang Yao over the railing. The monitor and I rushed to the railing. They fell from the 6th floor corridor, entangled with each other. Panicked screams filled the air. Someone's committing suicide. People are dead. I ran downstairs frantically, getting closer and closer, until it felt like the blood under Bian Yen was spreading to my feet. The ambulance finally arrived, but it was too late. When the medical staff got out of the ambulance, they seemed a bit confused. I thought it was about claustrophobia. What's going on now? Make way, make way. Why are there two people? I slowly stepped back as the crowd gradually engulfed me. Someone took my hand. It was warm. Qi Xia, are you okay? I turned around. It was He Tingzhou. He looked at me quietly. My throat tightened. It took a long time before I could finally say, He Tingzhou, they're both dead, he said, but I'll be with you from now on, always. The sky was very blue that day. I saw myself reflected in He Tingzhou's eyes, looking a bit lost and bewildered. Later, at certain moments, I would occasionally think about Bian Yen. What kind of mood was he in when he pushed Tang Yao downstairs? Was it anger, helplessness, or fear? But no matter what the truth was, my life was truly no longer related to him. I loved the person who wholeheartedly cared only for me. Side story, Bien Yin. 1. I couldn't get in touch with Qixia. She didn't reply to my WeChat messages, and her phone was unreachable. This was the first time this had happened. For a moment, I wondered if she was still angry about me bringing Tang Yao to the entrepreneurship conference. But then I thought Qixia was being unreasonable. She should know that Tang Yao didn't have much ability and needed some impressive resumes to enhance her image, until one day, after a meeting, I received a phone call. I felt inexplicably irritable the whole day. Tang Yao was making coffee next to me, and I casually put the call on speaker. Mr. Bien, hello, this is the police station. A few days ago, we handled a traffic accident at the expressway exit in the provincial capital. A young woman died. I wonder if you know her. My temples were throbbing. Tang Yao placed the coffee beside me. That damned policeman kept talking. Since she has no parents or relatives, we found that you were the friend she contacted the most. Would you be available to come and take care of Qixia's final arrangements? I angrily threw my phone away. Nonsense, what are you talking about? The call ended with a beeping sound. Liars. Tang Yao crossed her arms, leaned against the wall, and looked at me coldly. Haven't you seen the news? A few days ago, on the expressway we took to the conference, a bus lost control and killed a woman. I found Tang Yao so detestable for the first time and interrupted her sharply. Get out. She looked at me in disbelief. What did you say? I repeated. Get out of here. Fine, you said it yourself. Don't beg me to come back. Bien Yin. 2. Qixia couldn't be dead. A long time ago, in the orphanage. She told me she would never leave me, so when I went to the police station and saw her body, I still couldn't believe it. I clenched my fists tightly. I realized that I was actually afraid of the truth, so afraid that I was shaking. Sign here. The policeman's voice was cold and matter of fact. My voice was hoarse. Actually, I wanted to ask if she had said anything before she died, but I knew there wouldn't be anything, especially nothing about me. After that, I found that my emotions were becoming more and more unstable. I became irritable and prone to anger, often falling into bouts of emptiness and confusion. I went back to the orphanage and donated a large sum of money. The director treated me like an important person. Mr. Bien, our caregivers often tell the children about you. They all say they want to follow your example. I looked at these children. They were as small and pitiful as I once was, but I didn't feel any closeness. Instead, I felt a bit of disgust. I said, I want to take a walk around the orphanage by myself. The director didn't suspect anything and thought I was just nostalgic for my childhood. I walked alone and came to the dormitory area. The children had been taken away by the caregivers for activities, and it was empty now. I opened the door and immediately saw the room where Qixia used to live. Of course, her things were no longer there, but I still felt like I could see traces of her presence, like that small single bed, the worn-out bedside table, and the wooden wardrobe. I closed my eyes and recalled the scenes from when I was a child, excitedly coming here to find her every night. Vaguely, it seemed like she was still here, sitting by the bed waiting for me. My Xia. I opened the wardrobe and hid inside. Would my Xia come to find me? 3. It was 2 days later when my assistant finally found me. He couldn't get in touch with me, and when my phone wasn't working, he had no choice but to drive to the orphanage. The director thought I had left without saying goodbye, but when they checked the surveillance, they found that I was actually hiding in a child's wardrobe. Everyone was shocked. My unstable mental condition could no longer be hidden. The company hired a renowned psychiatrist for me. She was an expert on the verge of retirement, with a gentle and pleasant voice, gradually guiding me to talk about the past. So, you were the one who left Qixia on the highway, right? Yes. I closed my eyes, feeling as if my head was being struck by a sledgehammer. Tang Yao even reminded me that there were no cameras in that area, so no one would see it. My heart was flooded with remorse and pain, like waves crashing. I longed to go back in time and change everything. However, the doctor still didn't show any sign of blaming me. She simply asked, have you ever thought about why you're so tolerant of Tang Yao? She bullied you, humiliated you, and looked down on you. Do you really like her? I shook my head. I couldn't answer this question. After a long while, I said, I just hoped she would be nicer to me. Maybe you're just projecting your feelings for others onto her. The doctor poured me a glass of warm water. The lack of parental love during your childhood made you feel that there was a missing piece in your life. Perhaps Tang Yao's appearance just reminded you of the darkest period of your life. She made your life so miserable, but sometimes she also gave you a little bit of sweetness, this tiny bit of kindness, which would be insignificant to an ordinary person. was magnified infinitely against the backdrop of the pain she inflicted, but you forgot about the girl who always stayed by your side, helped you grow, and would never dream of hurting you. Bien Yen, you need to learn to love. Don't let yourself be manipulated by Pua. 4. When I got back to the villa, I found that Tang Yao had actually returned. She was sitting on the sofa nonchalantly. When she saw me enter, she stood up immediately and threw her arms around my neck. Bien Yen, you're back. I heard you went to the hospital. Something was missing in the villa. I pushed her away. Where are Qixia's things? I snapped. She didn't care. What's the point of keeping things belonging to a dead person? It's so unlucky. I was almost driven mad with anger. Those were my only remaining memories of Qixia, and she had thrown them away. Trembling, I suddenly slapped Tang Yao across the face. She stared at me with wide eyes. Then, slowly, the corners of her lips turned up in a strange smile. Bien Yen, you're disgusting. Do you know what I found in your desk today? Love letters that He Tingzhou wrote to Qixia in high school. It turns out they knew each other since primary school. If it weren't for you, Qixia might have been with He Tingzhou a long time ago. It was you withheld He Tingzhou's love letters, making him think that Qixia didn't remember him or like him at all. If they had been together, would Qixia still be dead? Tang Yao always knew exactly how to hit me where it hurt. Yes, in the final analysis, I was the one who caused Qixia's death. Tang Yao took slow steps towards me. Her hand gently caressed my face and then stopped at my throat, lightly gripping it. Actually, Qixia and I could be considered childhood sweethearts. Your pure and innocent Xiaxia should go to heaven, she said, standing on tiptoe as if she were going to kiss me. Yes, someone as vicious, calculating, and greedy as her, we should die together. I pulled open the drawer of the desk and took out a pistol. At a banquet once, a senior executive from a rival company tried to insult Qixia. I picked up a wine bottle and smashed it over his head.